Oh, hold on there. Welcome, everyone, to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner, and this is my show, our show, PRT. I say our because I should say that. We're a team here. We work together. It says we have 0 people listening. No, that's not correct. Why is this thing always like behind? There it goes. You're like talking to no one. Can you imagine doing a show and there's like nobody? You're just doing a show. It's like, I do a show. I'm kind of a big deal in my own head.
You got to really believe in yourself for all that.
Yeah. I'm in Bellevue. I'm actually in a facility. I don't have a microphone or any recording equipment, but the people that live in my head love it.
And it turns out like it's actually a really good show if someone would listen.
Someone who would just listen?
Yeah.
Well, how many people probably don't get discovered and they do a good job? You know, I was reading a thing the other day. This is kind of, off the subject. Before I get started, though, Josh Turner, PRTpodcast.com, and then patreon.com/PRT podcast. Join the Patreon. Tony, tell them why they should join the Patreon.
Well, we have a couple different goodie bags for you, basically. If you join the Patreon for $10, then you wait 3 months, you will get just a regular goodie bag. If you want to skip the 3-month period, you can pay $20 and you'll just get the regular goodie bag. Then starting at $30, we start amping up the goodie bags, or the swag bags. The $30 tier is the swag bag, and then we do it again at the $40 tier. We call that the super swag bag. You get a lot of good stuff, a lot of different books, everything that you're going to get in the normal swag bag with extra. And I'm pretty sure once we get these books going, then that might be included. A signed copy might be included in those as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like the Dogman and Bigfoot book, we're like right on the cusp of getting them out there. They're going to be on Amazon and
middle of next week should be. Mm-hmm. Dogman should be out early.
Yeah. The Dogman one's going to come out first, and then it's going to be the Bigfoot book. Mm-hmm. They're both really, really good reads. We think they're going to be like something familiar, but still very different for all of you. So you're going to like it.
We hope so. And if you don't, you're just a turd. You're just weird, and you don't deserve our love. You don't deserve my love. Now, what I was going to say, and I'm going to talk about the books for just a minute. We have a guest that's going to come on tonight, and he's going to talk about some amazing stuff. I'm going to give you a story. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Somebody said, "Oh, Josh got a haircut." Shame on you. That means you didn't watch Sunday. You didn't watch Sunday because I had this haircut Sunday. My hair is just very malleable. But if I let my hair grow out, it goes up and starts to curve. And it gets kind of wavy. Then it gets kind of, But it straightens out. Well, I can pretty much do anything with my hair. I've been blessed with a good head of hair. A lot of people are complaining, "Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that." And I'm like, I don't have that problem. I got 99 problems. My hair ain't one. But I thank God in heaven for that. He's allowed me to have that and allowed to have me air in my lungs. By His grace, I live. By His grace, I die. That's my motto. And so here's what I'm going to tell you. I was reading something the other day about Dr. J. And I don't know if anybody knows who Dr. J is. He wasn't a doctor. He played for the 76ers. He was an NBA basketball player. He was a Hall of Famer. He was a great. And he was talking about how some of the best ballers that he'd ever met, they didn't take one step on the hardwood in the NBA. For whatever reason, they weren't in the NBA. There were all these different reasons. And, of course, back then when he played, they didn't get paid like they do now. So a lot of them just didn't have incentive. Like he literally was talking about one guy made more money selling marijuana. It was, I don't advocate that, but I'm saying like he was selling, whatever. And he's like, why would I go play basketball? I can make more money doing this. He's like, because there's only 1 or 2 guys on the team back then would make good money. And he said these guys, sometimes they'd smoke him, dude. I mean, like they would tear him up. He was great. And these were just ballers on the streets of Philly. Same thing with Joe Frazier, the boxer also, who was from South Carolina, I believe, but he boxed out of Philly. And he was saying that some of the guys he trained with there were just rock solid, tough guys, but they just had no ambition on becoming champions. You have to have ambition and the will to feed it. And so there's a lot of unsung heroes in the world who just don't make it. They're just super talented, but they don't channel it or they don't get the opportunities. And the opportunities, That's the sad thing, is that a lot of people don't get the opportunities to show what they can do. And that's just unfortunate. That's the world we live in, but it is what it is. So here's what I'm going to tell you about the books, and then we'll jump right into something here, a quick story or two if I got time, and then I'll bring the guest on. The books, okay, and I wanted to explain this. Once I got I went and I read both of them side by side, and Tony, you did too, Anthony, we all read them. I chose, like, I'm going to tell you the play-by-play here. I was like, more than a third away in the Dogman book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before I decided I need to write 2 books. And Anthony, you said that's a bad idea. You don't even know how to write 1 book. How you going to write 2?
Yeah.
And I said, I can do this, but I'm going to need help. I need to consult with people, and everybody needs to get on board as a team. And we got some outside help, and we got people to do interviews and conduct interviews. And we literally had, between the two books, I think I counted 44 interviews. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. It was so with that many interviews, I had to recruit a couple people, well, about 3 people, to help. And I give them all the credit in the world for helping me interview these people. And some of them I had already interviewed, and they re-interviewed them and recorded them and stuff, and then sent me files, and we put it together, and then they helped me format it and everything else and how you're supposed to do it, because these people have written books before and I didn't. And so I didn't know exactly what I was doing, but it's my work, it's my words, it's my stuff. It's all my stories that I collected and gathered. And these are all people that we interviewed and talked to. And I did the Dogman book sort of matter-of-factly, and even after I had talked to Linda Godfrey and had said that the first book, she was kind of like, I should have gone more into the whatever. I feel like I kind of did the same thing. I hope it's good. I hope you like it. I feel like it's a little more stiff, only in the way that I feel like I was trying to relay this information. Then when I got into the Bigfoot book, I kind of went another direction, and I kind of just let myself be and flow a little differently. I gave over to more just letting it hang out there and going more in depth with each of the witnesses, where we ended up with a lot of different witnesses for the Dogman book. And my thinking was this, and I'm going to tell you this so you're prepared. I thought Bigfoot has been around for decades, right? And I thought the Dogman thing is a relative newcomer in the way that it has not been in the mind of the general public, in the way it is now. And so I thought, my thinking was, I wanted to do something different, but I wanted to show people how many different people are seeing these things. And I chose a lot of people from the community that had names in the community who had these encounters. With the Bigfoot book, you can't do that. It had to be 2 totally different books. And I hope everybody watches this and hears what I'm saying about this. And I see there's only 200 people here right now, but hopefully there will be more. And a lot of people are probably just going to jump in halfway, and then they're not going to bother to watch the beginning of this, but you really got to hear what I'm going to say. I'm going to talk about the conference too, and how I did it and why I did it the way I did it. There's been 1 million Bigfoot books written, okay? The majority of the Dogman books were written by one person, Linda Godfrey. She was the gold standard and always will be for that. She came before me, and that's the person that you have to look to for the bulk of this work. There are stark contrasts between my Dogman book and my Bigfoot book. The main reason being, I wanted the Bigfoot book to be something different. Something in the Bigfoot, in the way that there are bunches and bunches and bunches and bunches of reports to choose from, but I wanted to show you the whole truth of the Bigfoot phenomena. You know what I mean? Like, not leaving out all this important stuff. Like, what's going on that's going on around these encounters. Not just, oh, well, I saw a Bigfoot on the side of the road. Oh, I had Bigfoot around my property and they ate apples. Oh, I had Bigfoot and I played Monopoly. No, dude, that's not what I wanted. I didn't want Bigfoot looking in the window and that was it. It was very hard to choose which stories were going to go and which ones were going to be left behind. I called the book The Bigfoot Phenomena, just like I said, Werewolves and the Dogman Phenomena, right? Because it is encompassing the whole phenomena, the phenomena around Bigfoot. And not just Bigfoot, because Bigfoot brings a lot of baggage to the table. A lot of people say, no, it's just a big, giant, hairy monkey man running around the woods. Some of my dear friends believe that, and that's unfortunate. I believe that, but I believe there's also more going on than what, you know. And so I thought, you know, this is the way, you know, I didn't want to take advice from people that just said, quote unquote, the way to do it, you know, because there is no way to do it. But there is a right way and a wrong way to do anything. And I thought, if you're going to do something, it's worth doing right. And I meant like not as in morally right or wrong, but in like doing it, you know,
correctly,
functionally correct. Yes. The Bigfoot book is going to encompass, it's like nothing you've ever read. I promise you. Okay. It's like nothing you've ever read. It's, you know, we tried to go above and beyond, you know, what you've ever read before. We didn't have to add a lot of crap and sensationalize whatever. We just told the truth, right? Because a lot of these Bigfoot books, what they're doing, and I'm going to be very honest, and I don't want to ruffle feathers, but what they're doing is just saying, this is the Bigfoot encounter I got, but I'm only going to put in this part about the physical Bigfoot that's there, and that's it. I didn't do that. I did not do that. I gave you the unadulterated truth of what these people were witnessing, what they were going through, and what happened to them from beginning to end. And the Dogman book is more straightforward. It's more matter of fact, and it's like encounter after encounter after encounter after encounter with a little bit of hypothesizing, postulating and theorizing, postulating on theories, whatever. That's what the werewolf book is, right? And it's more short to the point of the stories are anyway, and it tells you what's, you know, and because I tried to put as many accounts in there as I could fit. There's going to have to be another one. There's going to have to be another Bigfoot book, and then there's going to be a UAP book, unidentified aerial phenomena, unidentified anomalous phenomena, unidentified alien presence, whatever you want to call UAP. That's what it stands for, and that is a project that I am going to be working on. I have agreed with to work on a UAP project. It's going to be with Nick Redfern and my good friends Christopher Jordan and Daniel Jones. And then, of course, the two guys across from me, we're all going to be doing the UAP project together. That will come after the conference. First, we're going to get the conference out of the way, the books, and then the conference. After that, we're going to work on that. And now, the ghost book, it's not going to be the ghost book. There's going to be probably a series of books about ghosts. And it's not just going to be encounters after encounters. It's going to be a lot of encounters. It's going to be a lot of encounters, but then I'm going to throw some stuff in there too, you know, to try to show you, hey, there's more going on with this phenomenon than what you think. And it's all connected. Now, I was talking to Ken Gerhard the other day, a good friend of mine. Everybody knows me. It's no secret. Me and Ken are thick as thieves. We're good. We're close. And me and Ken were talking, and he said, dude, I read your book after he'd helped me with some of the interviews, you know, and he says, dude, it the contrast compared to his books or Lyle's books or anybody else's books that he's read, he said, it's scary. It is scary. He goes, this phenomena, isn't that what he said? Mm-hmm. He said, this phenomena is scary. He's like, dude, it creeps me out, dude. It really does. And he gave me, that was high praise coming from Ken Gerhard. I said, what do you think? David Weatherly, same thing. He wrote the foreword for it. Said it is a freaky, scary thing. I wasn't trying to, like I said, I just gave you what these people told us and what they told me. I didn't go into a bunch and add a bunch of crap, make it sound all, you know, just this is what it was, this is what it is. And it does scare the crap out of people because the phenomena is scary. As opposed to just listening to a physical Bigfoot report, I mean, it is scary. And I let Barton Nunley read it. I let Barton Nunley read the Bigfoot. He's got high praise for the Bigfoot book. Says it's on par with Inhumanoids, which is, yeah, you can pan to him. That's the shirt right there. for Inhumanoids. And so Bart Nunn, of course, and Ken will both be at the conference, along with a lot of my other friends. But Nick Redfern read it, and just Nick Redfern, okay? And I'm going to tell you this, and if you want to go ask him, go ask him. He called me, and he said, this is an awesome book. He's like, and I would be proud to put, the forward to it. So I had him do the forward. And I thought that, thank you for the donations, everybody who's donated. I'm over here. Curtis Turner, DJ Tyler Radio, Robert Sampson, thank you so much. He says, love you guys and all that you do for us and expanding our knowledge and enjoyment of life. God bless. God bless you. And I couldn't be more excited, even though it's 100 and 1,000 degrees outside, because they're, but we're not going to talk about that. But here's the thing. These are authors, bona fide, true authors. Got the opinions of about half a dozen of them now on both books. And I thought, I want them to read this before I turn this over to the general public. Right? The editor, Beth, she read them. She said they were fantastic. Told him that Eddie from Smack Graphics, can't say enough about the guy, he's a great guy. The formatter that's putting it on the Amazon for us. Said, dude, I don't normally read all of the books. These are good. These are people saying that now. Now, I could go and say, because I did get an award that Tony gave me a few weeks ago, and this is the award. I know this is something you've seen on the show before, but now it's an award because we're an award-winning podcast. When you're an award-winning podcast and you go above and beyond to choose the best podcast and you choose yourself, you know you're doing something right. So that's what we did.
Well, you're not going to believe this, but
you're an award-winning author too, even though the books haven't come out yet.
Well, yeah, I was just going to mention.
For.
It's a New York bestseller.
Yeah, just like
Not New York Times.
No.
Just like every other book that comes out ever, it's a New York Times bestseller, a #1 New York Times bestseller.
Except we can't
like
say
every
that
single
yet.
book.
We're just New York.
At Barnes
We're just
and
New
Noble.
York bestseller. We're not
We'll be
Times
New York
yet.
Times once we're New York
It's not
Times. Right
time
now
yet
we're
for
New
time.
York bestseller.
Okay.
And we're the best champions of the
We're
world
New York-
in West Coast.
We're New York's small-time bestseller.
Yes,
number
there you go.
one.
Yeah.
He was
Paris,
number
Texas
one.
has voted us to be great.
Yeah.
The 3 people that live there, I contacted them. They said, you know what? You're the mayor. I said, thank you. Next week, Italy, Texas. I'm going to take over the world in Texas here. Here's the thing, guys. You can't be the best at what you do if you don't talk to those who are already there. And I'm not going to say I am the best or whatever at anything until those that are the best say you're good. It's a start. Okay. I hope that the books live up to the way we've hyped them up, because I am just absolutely thrilled to get these books out to you.
Yeah, I was talking to Barton because me and him were just on the phone, and he was telling me about the Bigfoot, and he just couldn't stop raving reviews about it. He was really impressed with it, and he said like it was just such a page turner, and it was one of those things where like he was reading it, and then afterwards he put the book down, and he went somewhere else, and he was like those stories still stuck with him. He was still thinking about it because you definitely have like a very strong message in that one, and you feel it, and it's one of those messages that makes you think, and it makes you want to continue thinking about it and maybe go into your own hypothesis. So
he also interviewed a lot. Well, I interviewed about 20 people, almost not 24 quite, but he interviewed a lot of people and helped with the gathering of a lot of information. But the way it all came together, I think was, I think you can do anything you set your mind to. I mean, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. And I have a renewed respect for authors, for editors, for everybody that does this. It isn't easy. It's not just like all these people just, oh, yeah, I can write a book. You can write a book. Anybody can go write a little golden book, a little piece of crap, and then just say you wrote a book. Doesn't mean it's good. And I'm not leveling anything at anybody, but I know that a lot of people are writing books, but that doesn't mean that they're good. And I'm not trying to compete with anybody either. And I'm not talking about my friends, like my friend from BMR, Big Rob. I haven't read his book yet. I'm looking forward to trying to read that one. Aaron Deese, another good friend of mine, wrote a book. Nick Redfern, he showed me the box of werewolf books that he just got that him and Brad Steiger and Nick Redfern offered to co-author a book with me about the UAP. I don't know if I'm going to take him up on it yet or not, but that's a high honor coming from somebody who's written as many books as he has and offering to do that after, he read my Bigfoot book. He's like, oh, you can write. You're not just a piece of crap that just does a podcast. No, he didn't say it. He still thinks I'm a piece of crap, but he wants to write with me. I'm joking, folks. I'm joking. And here's the thing. If you have ambition to do these things, make sure that you go and talk to people who've done it before. That's all I'm going to tell you. If you want to do a podcast, talk to those who are successful at doing podcasts. If you want to write, then talk to people who are successful at being writers. Somebody was joking me the other day, and they're like, I could just edit my own book. And I said, that's a terrible idea. Why? I said, because it is. You're going to miss things. You're going to miss things. The editors miss things. And then they have to have you go back and look, and that happens.
Yeah, it really is its own skill set.
It's unreal. And thank you for my Orlando sister on your major award. Yeah, we're gonna have this award series again, and we're gonna have different categories. We're gonna have like PRT, Paranormal Roundtable.
It's gonna be like the Bugs Bunny skit when he plays all the positions.
First base Bugs Bunny, second base Bugs Bunny, third base Bugs Bunny. Yeah.
Except it's all the categories and we win all of them.
We win all of them because we're already going to tell you right now it's rigged. I'm not going to lie to you. This isn't a democracy. This is a dictatorship, a benign one, but it is. That's what it is. And I give myself these awards. I'm going to start wearing medals. What is it called? Stolen valor? What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
I stolenly validate myself. I am the emperor of the galaxy and Tarzan, king of Mars. Okay? So this is believe that, all right? But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So I got some weird stories, though. I got a vampire one from Las Vegas on my Instagram. I don't think I told you about it.
You told me about the Dogman and the mirror story. And then you also had one which was
what was the other ones we got?
Haunted Theater. I remember me and you talking about that one.
And there's another one from a rancher out by Brenham.
That's a continuation. And there was something. The Dogman Mirror one, I haven't gone over that one with you. I went over with you. So yes, we have a ton of stories. We're going to tell some of these stories on Sunday. But I do have time for a quick story before we bring our guest on because he's got a lot to talk about. And he's a really good guest. You're going to like him a lot. I enjoyed talking to him and listening to him and what he had to say. Folks, I did a lot of work this week, even with the books and the conference and my job, which is a pain in the butt because apparently now we're invisible at one of our job sites. And they're like, I'm not seeing the guard. I'm not going to pay you. And I'm like, we're checking in every hour. How are we? So we're walking into your establishment, then we're leaving for 55 minutes and then coming back.
I guess so.
And then you come in the morning and then you're saying you don't see the guard. Like Scorpion is a big guy. He's about 300 pounds. How are you missing this guy? He is, I was working out with him at the gym yesterday. His back is huge. Like I saw him doing the back. I thought it was a Bigfoot. And I was like, wow, look at that. It's Scorp. Never mind. Scorp, I'm joking. I'm playing with you. Is he moderating? Have him and D moderate.
I saw D. I haven't seen.
But the thing is, how do you miss this guy? So I thought, I was joking with Nelly. I was like, this is paranormal. We're invisible now.
Well, he's mastered the art of staying so still. He becomes invisible.
Yeah, he becomes like one with nature. He is like a Sasquatch. So I'm having a hard time understanding that. Apparently, he can move in and out of reality like a spirit, like a ghost. But I don't know how that works. And so I'm really aggravated after all this stuff going on this week. I decided to do a number. Last week, I kept track. I had 40, what did I say, 44? 44 conversations about this stuff, these stories. This week, I had 36. Not quite, but the week is not over yet. So we could still make more than we did last week. Also, ticket sales have really ramped up now. We're getting closer to the conference. I'm happy about that. It's starting to really roll. VIP are almost gone. If you want to get a VIP, please get it because it may not be there. Now, if you're interested in going to the conference and you are not sure that you can go because of lodging, because of airplane airfare, whatever, or because you can't, I can't help you with your job and all that stuff, or the ticket price. This coming Sunday, okay, and we're going to talk about it first. We're going to see how we're going to do this. It's either going to be this coming Sunday or next Sunday. We're going to see what we can do about getting like one small, we're going to give a token, like a free room and free tickets. I can't do the airfare. I can't help you with that because there's so much cost. The burden is huge. It is huge, okay? But we want to get as many people to go as possible. So if you're not able to book a room, because it does cost money to book the room, and it does cost money to get tickets, we're offering 2. Because for whoever wants to go, but there's going to be a bed, 2 beds. I think right now we have one extra room, right?
Yeah.
So we bought a block of hotel rooms for the speakers. We ended up with an extra room. And I thought, why not give this room to somebody? So if you're willing to drive or fly, then we're going to give somebody, and there's 2 queen beds, so you can fit 4 people. So you, up to 4 people, will give you a free room and free tickets for the show. Okay? I can only do that for one group of people. I wouldn't wait around, though, in hopes that you get that. It's like winning the lottery, I'm telling you, because, like I said, VIP are almost gone. So we have been selling quite a few tickets in the last couple days. It has ramped up, and that is a good thing. I'm surprised how many people waited till the last month, but they did. A lot of people were telling me they were going to do that, and they are. Yeah, so all you got to do is just find your way there. Like I said, I can't afford to pay for the airfare because if I could, I would, because it's so expensive to throw this conference. It is so much money, like tens of thousands of dollars, and I'm not joking. And it's just you have to really have to dig down deep to do what we're doing because you're bringing in so many speakers with so many, just big names. So here we go, folks. So we got some stories to talk about. I don't know where to start. I mean, I got a guy coming on that's going to tell you a bunch of stuff. But then we're also going to have him on the podcast where we're going to do a continuation of what we talk about tonight. And then I got to leave some meat on the bone for Sunday, but we have so many stories. I don't even know where to begin. Let me bite into this one. This one is kind of okay. God, there's so many. Man, there's a Skinwalker one. There was a girl that was kidnapped by a Skinwalker when she was little. And I thought it was so weird. I've heard this twice now. 2 times. Somebody who was taken by what they believe was a Skinwalker, and I was blown out of my socks when the second person told me this. And while she's sitting there saying this, and we were face to face. It was a girl.
I remember this one.
Yeah, she worked at R. Ash's bar. Mm-hmm. She started telling it, and I looked at Tony, and I was like, "You gotta be kidding me," because we had another woman who claimed when she was little that this happened to her. And then we had a woman message us talking about her encounter with Bigfoot when she was a child. She lived in a commune. Now, I actually thought that the commune was in Washington. I was mistaken. I went back. It was in British Columbia, Vancouver, and that area. Because there's Vancouver, Washington, United States, and there's Vancouver, Canada. So she actually lived in Canada. So I thought that was here, but that wasn't here. But she claims that these Bigfoot were basically taking women from their commune, like a compound they lived in. It was crazy. And then there was another story I got. Can't remember which one this was. It happened in the 80s. I was just talking to Nellie about it before I left the house, and I was looking over it, and I don't want to sit here and stare at my phone. But it was, I can't remember what it was. But I have to. Sorry. I think I got it, and then it always.
That's what Skinwalker girl was. She was native, wasn't she?
She was, which one?
The one at our Ash's bar.
The one was Chickasaw. She was at Chickasaw, and she was, she's African American in Chickasaw. And you can tell by looking at her.
Yeah.
And then the other girl was Ute. She was Ute. So it was a very. And so I've cultivated a very close knit relationship with most of the Native American community. We have very similar views when it comes to these creatures. Okay, I haven't had too many problems coming from most of the things that I've had happen haven't come from them. They've been very on board because I've had a few of them reach out, and tell me that they're glad with what I'm saying, what I'm doing, because it is the truth. And this is how they believe, Hey, Mike, what's going on, man? Mike from Abnormal Investigations. Everybody, if you haven't checked his stuff out, he does good work. He does a lot. Him and Kirk Reed do really good work. Samantha says, Wolf, any stories from the Southern Ute Indian Reservation down in Colorado? Absolutely, because I've actually been there. Here's what's crazy. Years ago, and I'm not going to get into a long drawn out, I have a friend who was from there, and way back in the early, I'd say mid-90s, we hung out. And then he would come to the club every now and then, and we would talk. And one of the times he invited me and another friend to go to their reservation. And we ended up talking to his grandfather, and he told us all kinds of crazy stuff. Not crazies in like he was crazy, like, no, but he told us all kinds of stuff. And I think that, oh, dude, I got stories in Colorado. Trust me. Colorado's got a ton of stuff. I got one out of Pueblo. I'll tell you that one. You know what? This is off the cuff here, but I'll tell you this one off the cuff. This was a Dogman story I got out of Pueblo, Colorado. I tell you this one. It's more of a. I was trying to remember the other one. I had them marked down by the years. And I was looking for one that was in 1986, but I can't find it. But this one was out of Pueblo, Colorado, and this was crazy. I mean, it was a crazy story. And they were driving down the highway, and they didn't even know if what they saw was really happening. Like it was so unusual, so weird, and it was part of a greater story. But I can tell you this: they literally witnessed. They were pulled over. They had several state troopers or whatever that were state police that were pulling people over and checking them. And so they had the traffic blocked off. I don't know what the main highway is going into Pueblo. Look it up real quick for me, because I know that they were going from Amarillo to Pueblo, Colorado, and there's a major highway, an artery that goes up there. You can look it up. And they said that they were checking people. This is like back in the 90s when this happened. Like I think it was mid-90s. Just look it up. And they said that they were pulled over. This is a female that told me this, but it was her and her boyfriend. And they'd never seen anything like this before.
Highway 87.
87.
And then it turns into I-25.
Yeah. And it goes straight up into Pueblo, right? From Amarillo. Like it kind of goes like this.
Well, hang on. So there's another highway. There's 287 that you can also take, which goes from Pueblo, Amarillo to Pueblo.
Yeah, that must be it, because I knew it was 87 or something like that. So they get pulled over, and I guess they were about 40 miles outside, and they were going home. They were visiting family here in Texas, and they live outside of Amarillo, so they went up to back to Pueblo. Thank you for that donation. I appreciate that. Tito, you were all sweethearts. Thank you for letting me be part of the PRT family. Again, Sugar Britches, thank you for making everyone feel welcome. Thank you. We love you all. When they got pulled over, They literally, she said that this is what her boyfriend who was driving heard one of the police officers say to another one. This is what they told me. He said, he goes, he tells the other guy, he goes, I don't know exactly what it was. He's like, all I know is that it jumped out of the vehicle on all fours. So he's sitting there and he's going like, what are they talking about? They go from vehicle to vehicle, and they said, hey, do you mind if we take a look in your vehicle real quick? And they looked. I said, what exactly is this all about? They said, oh, no, it's no big deal. Well, they were sitting there, and they were getting tired. So some people were starting to get out of their vehicles. And the crazy thing is, they get out of their vehicle, and the police go to the other side of the vehicle, start talking to her. And she kind of said that they were being a little flirtatious. She was like, I didn't really like their, I don't know, how would you say it? It wouldn't be bedside manner because they're not doctors. But while her boyfriend was busy talking to the other cop was being all flirtatious and be like, hey, what's up? You know, kind of acting like, you know, you want to go to the club later or something? You know what I mean? Kind of like, that's what she said.
A little bit too forward.
Yeah. And so it wasn't exactly proper to her. She didn't think it was
Very professional.
Professional, yeah. So she said that this guy was talking to her, and she's like, what's going on? And he says, oh, you know, there was a large dog that jumped out on a routine police stop, and it bit one of our officers, and then it disappeared off into the plains or whatever. And she was like, what? Like a dog? Like, you know, I think this was 1995. And she said that, but I'm not for sure 100%, you know, about that. She said it happened in 1995, 96. And she was like, really? And they said, yeah, he was pulled somebody over and left his vehicle on the side of the road. But someone, you know, they were looking, right? And so they think that this dog may have doubled back and gotten in someone's vehicle. Somebody picked him up. Here's the weird thing, right, folks? Now take this journey with me, and I want you two to tell me what you think of this. How does a dog, this is the first thing I thought, how does a dog bite a man? Somebody's dog, right? It has to be in a vehicle, right? Mm-hmm. So if the dog belonged to somebody, how does it jump out of the vehicle after it bites this individual, run off into the wilderness, and then come back and get picked up by someone that doesn't pass the smell test? So she starts going like, what is that? And she's like, years go by, like decades, you know. Then she starts hearing recently about dog attacks. The dog, you know, reports of people being attacked by dogs. Think about it. If you're a police officer and you pull someone over, right? And their dog bites you, okay, and then runs off, you're going to maybe detain the person and be like, does this dog have rabies? You know, blah, 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 blah. You're going to call somebody, right? The dog's not going to run, and then someone's going to go, oh, look, the dog is running by itself, and then pull over, and then the dog jumps in the car. So then you have to block off traffic to find said dog. Unless the dog wasn't a dog, and it was actually a person that bit this dude. And then somehow he doubled back and then got into someone's vehicle.
Or just his own, I guess.
But think about it, though, right? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I think that this was not really, I'm not going to say it was a werewolf, but what if what was really going on was that somebody bit this guy, jumped out the other side as a four-legged animal, ran, and then came back to the highway as a hitchhiker and got a ride. That is what was going off in my mind. You in the audience can tell me what you think. I mean, you can put it in the comments section, but does that not make sense? I know to the conventional mind, but this isn't a conventional minded audience.
I don't know. It seems a lot more plausible that this dog had a hit out on this other guy and then, was going out and doing his job. And after the job was done, he went and got picked up by his associates. I think that's way more plausible than a werewolf. Come on, Wolf. What are we talking about here?
Because dogs are now just going crazy and attacking people for no reason. I mean, they're just going nuts.
He just solved it. They're wild dogs are attacking people for money.
Yeah, it's obviously some kind of hitman thing going on.
So the mafia has trained dogs to go after people that.
Well, Banjo was on the street.
It's the perfect crime because when you find a body all shredded up like it was thrown in a meat grinder, then the cops are just gonna say, "Oh yeah, it was a dog attack."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a pack of wild dogs.
Oh, it's just one piece of him left? That's got to be dogs.
I mean, look, I'm just saying.
It's that cop from The Simpsons. There's nothing to see here.
Yeah.
There's a person got eaten by a
Or
wiener
Officer
dog.
Barbara Brady from South Park.
Move along, people.
I mean, I'm just saying, if I were an unscrupulous criminal and I wanted someone unalived, and I had like a dog man werewolf thing, or like a person who could turn into it, right? And I would pay it with like puppy chow, and then have it go do my bidding. And
Thank you, Kate and Susie, for those donations, by the way.
And never ever get caught because it's just a wild dog attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're stopping traffic, and the excuse that they told her boyfriend was, well, we're worried this dog could have rabies or other, like, so you're stopping traffic.
Wait a minute, this dog was in the truck though, right?
Yeah, they're not going to be looking in people's vehicles for a dog. It's a person that they're going to think is hiding in there.
Yeah. But
they literally heard him say it jumped out on all fours. But it seems kind of odd because wouldn't they have had the perpetrator, the dog's owner, like
yeah? Actually, yeah.
I guess the perpetrator would be the dog, but I mean, like, how does that work?
It seems more likely that whatever was going on, that these cops stumbled upon a guy, and the guy didn't want to get arrested, so he turned into a dog or some kind of canid, bit him and ran away, and then later on just doubled back, but. They can't mention too much, but they're still probably on that lookout for that guy. So they're like, yeah, it's a dude with a dog, and we're just looking for the dog. I'm pretty sure that doesn't make any sense.
I think y'all's theory, though, about them like being paid by the mafia.
That's not a theory. That's how Banjo grew up. It took me a while to get him off of that.
He was raised in the streets.
He was, yeah. He was doing all kinds of criminal activity out there.
So you got a hold of him.
Yeah,
turn him around.
Banjo's a gutter baby.
He was out there with the bucket.
Yeah. He earned his keep by listening to Tony and letting him like send him to go pee on people's vehicles and stuff that he didn't like.
And folks, we're not trying to make light of this, subject because it's really what now?
I don't know. It's for work.
Oh God, is it a person?
Yeah.
That works for us?
Yeah.
God, I'll be glad when we can just focus on this full time and not have to do stuff that's not this. So buy the books, please. Subscribe, please. Like, please.
So we got two people at Triangle. Meredith, Patty.
Why is Patty there?
Why is Patty there?
I don't know.
Okay, then tell one of them to go to Marvila.
I thought Meredith
Scorpion to stand down. I'm sure he'll enjoy that. He's been working his butt off. Scorpion has lost about 20 pounds in the past month. I'm not joking. He has been really getting after it. I saw him working out yesterday, and it actually motivated me not to work out more or harder, but just to go up and like tell him, hey man, keep doing what you're doing.
Well, we had those talks about his health, and he's finally taking it serious, so that's good.
Yeah, here's the thing, folks. Now, whether you believe in shapeshifters or werewolves or whatever, and this isn't the only weird story I got at Pueblo, Colorado. I got a flying humanoid out of there, too. This was Pueblo, Colorado. But something happened. I don't know what, and I can't tell you, all I know is what they told me, or what they told us, and then relaying to you the story. and I thought, and this is a story we've had for a while. We've just been waiting for like, were we going to do one about shapeshifters? But what is that? What happened? What were they looking for? Because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that you would pull someone over and a dog would bite you, and then you decide to put up roadblocks and stop everyone and look in their vehicle for the said dog. If the dog jumped out of the vehicle, like the guy said, and it ran off into the wilderness,
The vehicle's still there.
Dog's not going to double back and then be picked up by somebody unless it came back as a person.
I mean, plain and simple, like the vehicle's still there. They could still check all the information from that. So, and then if they just sat there long enough, the guy would have came back to his vehicle if it was just a dog. So it really does sound like
it's a weird thing.
It sounds like something was going on beforehand, and whatever it was caused them to get bit by something. And they're looking for that something, but they're not being specific about what that thing is.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah. And she was saying that for years she just thought it was a weird thing, but not until this spat of what do you call it? Dog attacks. You know, thinking that it was, you know, I don't know.
I mean, we say it all the time. How many stray dogs can get pretty vicious, but how many of them are just roaming around in packs attacking people? I don't know that many to be doing that. I mean, I know that they can get pretty aggressive when they're out on the street, but I don't see them running to people and attacking them. If anything, they run away from people and go in like dumpsters and scavenge.
And
they're huge scavengers, not attackers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was having this conversation the other day. There was an episode that Mike's actually was in the chat. I don't know if he still is, but Mike from Abnormal Investigations, him and Bettina Moss did. And I would like to get them together to talk about this again. I'd like to do a show about these attacks because during all of this, I was getting reports, and I have all these other things going on, but what's going on? Like, what are these people looking for? What were they looking for? It is so weird because here's another thing that happened. I had a report out of south of San Antonio, not in the city limits of San Antonio, south of San Antonio, and it's out in the middle of nowhere, and this guy pulls over, and he's sitting at a rest stop, and there's a police officer that pulls up. He's a county police. I can't remember what county he was talking about. Struck up a conversation with him because he asked him what he was doing because he's like, I'm sitting there on the bench, I'm smoking a cigarette, and the cop asked him, what, everything okay, whatever. He said, yeah, I'm okay. And this police officer tells this young man, he said, I was 26 years old. He said it was 2017. There's a young guy. And he says, I'm sitting there, and the guy says, you need to be real careful. We've had some wild dogs running around out here lately, and one of them attacked somebody at this rest stop. And he says, are you serious? He says, yeah. So this guy starts talking to him, and he tells the police officer, he says, well, I'm not too worried about dogs, whatever, and I'll be fine, whatever. And he's like, no. These aren't normal dogs. He's like, these we think they may be rabid. We're not real sure. There have been people that have been calling and saying that they're, stalking around this area or whatever. And just, it'd be better if you were in your vehicle at night and you're alone, And he said they struck up a conversation. So the police officer gets out. He starts talking to him. And tells him, he's like, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've never seen anything like this, where there's been two people, attacked right in this area. So I've been like kind of driving through here. When I see somebody here at night, I tell them, whatever. And he says something really odd to this guy. He tells the guy, he says, if I didn't know any better, I think that these dogs had human level intelligence. And then Charles, the guy that gave me his name is Charles. He don't care if I use his name, but Charles tells me, or Charlie, he said, dude, it was weird. He's like, I tell the guy, I was like, human level intelligence. He's like, what does that mean? Like, what exactly does that mean? Right? And he goes, I don't know. He goes, when I was young, the police officer, he said my grandmother would talk about these dogs that and then they started talking about the cadejo. They're both Hispanic. And he's like, I haven't seen the dogs personally, but the descriptions are very odd. They're all black and they're very large. And when they started talking, he tells this guy that one of them was seen standing over a fence. And he's like, standing over a fence? Okay. He goes, no, on two legs. Yeah. So weird that one person that was attacked was a female, and she didn't get bit. So I can't really say that she was attacked. They tried, let's put it that way. And she managed to run back to her vehicle because she just stopped to take a break, stretch her legs, whatever. She was headed to Corpus. And she ran back to her vehicle, and these things were right on her heels. And one of them came up and jumped up in the window. The windows were rolled up. She was, and then they drove off, her and her husband. And he said, did this one stand up on his hind legs? Yeah, I said on his hind legs, but I thought maybe, this is the police officer's words. I thought that it was up on the window, like with its paws, until the next time somebody saw them and reported them, right? Because they were actually running out and they chased somebody's car. And he said that one was seen over this barbed wire fence and was standing over it. And he said if it wasn't for like 3 or 4 reports, we'd think people were crazy.
What do you mean standing over? Do you mean like he was on the barbed wire fence? Like how?
I don't know. I just know what this guy told me that the police officer said. And of course he couldn't translate everything that the police officer said because,
Yeah. That's really curious to me because it makes me think like, was it on the outside just big enough to be over the fence, like hovering over?
There again, I don't know.
it's
I
just
can only
weird.
tell you what was relayed to me.
Yeah, I know.
I could make something up.
Still got
the dog was
questions,
standing
though.
there and he was smoking a cigarette. He was like, hey, what's up? I don't know. I can't tell you any more than that. That's just the conversation he had with the police officer. And then he took off and then he emailed me that. And he said, dude, back in 2007 or whatever, I got this story, who knows? You kind of wonder. I mean, gosh, I don't, where does the line between like people talk about Dogman, they talk about werewolf. Where does the line go? And then dogs, attacking people. And, they say there's different, the way they look different. There's different types and all those different stuff. I don't know.
It's not like never like normal dogs that you could probably name the species or the breed of either. It's not like you ever hear. I never hear a story where they say like a wild pack of dogs. Never say like Dobermans and a couple pit bulls and.
Well, they do. They'll
Do they?
say that they're pit bull, yeah, every now and then. But then sometimes, like the one with the spits, that one. And we were both laughing about it because it was like, yeah, okay, this Spitz just decided to unalive somebody. Like that. And it was just like a vicious attack. And you're like, that dog? I mean, like something like me, I handled dogs for a while too. I mean, like you can kick it. I'm like, I don't kick dogs or animals, but if it's attacking you folks, you can do whatever you got to do. But if you just like, even a small woman could kick that dog to the moon. I was like, that dog? Like how did she get, like, how does that happen? Like, she had to have been like laying there for hours just letting it bite her. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. Now, I'm not going to get into all these different stories.
What I don't understand is like they have to have a reason why they're attacking. They can't just be aggressive. And if there is, they do have rabies, can't they test for that on the bites itself? Or like there should be a way to figure that out. So it'd be like these rabies infested dogs attack people. Then it would be of greater concern. But the fact they just call it wild dogs just bothers me to no end because I just don't see dogs doing that.
Well, I would say if you see a wild pack of Spitz dogs, you need to run
away
because apparently one of them now can disembowel you. And I honestly don't think these are dogs. It does happen. Dogs do attack people, and I'm not going to try to fearmonger and sensationalize and whatever. And I'm not trying to say that every time somebody gets attacked or bit by a dog, okay, that it is a werewolf, okay? That's not what I'm saying. Please don't misconstrue my words. What I'm saying, though, is that every time someone gets bit by a dog, it's a werewolf. Joking, folks. Joking. There again. Here's the thing. If you go and you look up all these dog attacks and just do that. Google this. Or go watch Mike's show, Abnormal Investigation, and Bettina Moss's show. Go check them out. Okay? And you tell me the work that they did, you know? I mean, you know, I'm sitting here telling you, I'm not trying to, and I don't mind plugging other people's shows that I've actually checked some of their stuff out, and it's really good. Hopefully Mike is coming to the conference. Mike, I think he's in the chat. If you're in the chat, you're coming to the conference, Mike, tell me you're coming to the conference because I'd love to have you at the conference. I need you on the panel. You and Kirk both. Come and be on the panel, at least do that. Because I think that the dog attack thing is something that we need to discuss. Now, I got a chirpy email the other day that said, why don't you stay in your lane? Once again, person sort of kind of threatening me. I'm not going to say they threatened me because they didn't threaten me. They didn't technically threaten me, but they said, you need to stay in your lane. Okay. What exactly is my lane, folks? Because I take up a lot of the road. What is my lane? I'm not allowed to talk about dog attacks. And I think it's this one guy or maybe somebody who supports this one guy who likes to go around messing with people. I don't know what his, what dog he has in this fight. No pun intended. But he seems to he takes issue with anybody who believes that these things are anything other than dog attacks. He doesn't want to, if anybody says it could be anything other than a dog, he gets really upset and he starts crap with them. And so maybe that's him. I don't know. Or one of his constituents. I have no idea. I just know that he said something to me, or well, I'm not going to accuse him because I don't know if it was him, but somebody said something to me. They emailed me on Wednesday. I said, you need to stay in your lane.
That's exactly.
What is my lane?
Well, that was the exact opposite of what we're trying to do here. The whole point of calling it Paranormal Roundtable was that we had no lane. Like all lanes were open to us.
That's why we did it.
Yeah.
So we could just go, we could just be like, good luck everybody else and just go across.
Exactly.
With no
we don't care
line.
what it is about. It's our lane. It's part of our thing.
Exactly. And so that's our lane. I mean, yeah, there you go. Chelsea says your lane is whatever lane you were in at any given time. Of course, I took hours out of my day responding and arguing with this individual because it bothered me so much. And I can't tell you how grateful I am for my wife finally telling me to stop because otherwise I just would have exploded and kept arguing with this individual. Because they're that important to me.
Well, what bugs me is just it feels a little bit like it's a easy excuse to give. You know, like, if it's not dogs, then it's a bear. Ooh.
Yeah, the bear man. I already got attacked about that too. I was in a group and I was gonna do some Drangus. Some Drangus decided come at me and say, why you want to talk about bear man's bears? You stupid and just talking about bear man's make you look stupid. It's just bears. So I told him,
Check it out.
I asked him, I said, do you live in Texas? He says, no, I don't. Where do you live? He said, Wyoming. I said, okay, let me tell you something. Stay in your lane because these are bear people in the hill country where I live, okay? People seeing them, and guess what? There are no bears here. Haven't been bears here since the 20s. What the hell are you talking about? I mean, they're not bears. That's why I didn't want them to be called bear people because they're not bears. And then you're going to say, oh, they saw something that looked like a bear man, like some of our witnesses and like, what's her name that came on the show? Jenna Perry. I said, oh, well, what she saw, it was like, I think I saw a werewolf. It was like, she saw was a bear. Wasn't a werewolf. Come being werewolf. What are you talking about? You're crazy. Chip, chop, chip. I said, look, she saw something, right? That was reminiscent of a bear, but totally like a man. That's where we get the term bear man. Man, bear, pig, whatever you want to call it. They're seeing something, and I hate when people try to trivialize and say, oh, it was a pack of dogs, it was a stray dog, it was a bear, it was a whatever it was, other than what it was. I'm not going to accept that. That is right out. But that being said, we're going to bring our guest. Let me get him called here. Anthony is not in the house. He is busy. See what he's doing, because he's manning the controls over there, and he's got it set up the way he wants. And if you interfere with him, he can be a very crude man. Oh, is he? So here we go. Barefoot, Gil. Now, Gil is actually a police officer in Colorado, and Gil actually had an encounter with something very weird. But one day I'll let him tell that. This is for him. So yeah, you do come across some very odd things.
You know what I'm curious about? I highly doubt it, because it would mean that we have a competent government. But I wonder if, like in East Police Station, there's like a couple guys who know more, and then like they're the ones that are sent to kind of, because it feels like a lot of the cops don't know anything like this, and then they're just forced to. Someone up higher above tells them to stop. Like when they are encounter it, they're like, "Hey, don't mention it. Hey, don't do this, or else you're gonna lose your job." Or hey, so I wonder if there's like some cops who, like that's their specialty is all the paranormal stuff, but they just pretend to act like normal cops. Once again, I don't believe that, because that would mean that we have
things run like they're supposed to.
Yeah. But
you know, we were talking about Nick Redfern earlier. Nick Redfern wrote a book, Men in Black, and it's one of the many books I've read of his. And I remember him talking about a guy that followed them out of the restaurant, looking odd and acting weird. And I told him, I said, I don't think that was a real Men in Black person, because that would mean that they are actually more competent, you know. Like, and I don't have no faith in the competence of the organization.
Yeah, Lolo, kind of like an X-Files department.
Yeah,
but that's a little bit too higher up. I'm still just like bottom day regular cops.
And then some of the people we've interviewed too, they're just like, that's above my pay grade. But at least they're honest about it, you know. It's like, so let's get this show on the road here. See if we can. I can barely hear that. Is this one?
Evening, Josh.
Hey, what are you doing, Kirk? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing tonight?
I'm actually excited because the gout has gone away in my left knee for now, and I'm able to move around and actually able to work out last night. Not legs yet, but I did my upper body, which was nice. So I'm actually
right. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So how about you?
Oh, right now, just kind of relaxing. It's been a rough couple days.
Oh, wow. What's going on?
Actually, my dog had a little accident, fell down the stairs, had to take him emergency vet call, and then back to the vet today, and he sprained his neck. So he's on medicine, and then coming back from the vet, blew the rear end in my Jeep. So that's how my days went. So this is the highlight of my day.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that this could be the highlight of your day. And I feel bad because the highlight of your day is talking to me. That's not. But I hope that it gets better. Prayers for you, folks. Everybody, take time out to say a prayer for Kirk Reed, folks. Everybody, if you don't know Kirk he has got some incredible stories, done a lot of great work, and he works on abnormal investigations with Mike. I don't know if everybody knows their channel. You want to plug it? Tell people what you do?
Sure. We're Abnormal Investigations. We look into all the cryptids. We look into witches. We look into vampires. And we'll actually, in October, just in time for Halloween, have a professional vampire hunter on the show.
Wow. You got to let me know when that's going to be, because I got to tune in for that. I've been doing a lot of work on those.
Really?
People like to believe that they're not real, and there's not a lot said about them.
You and I.
But they're real. And and the thing is, somebody asked me the other day this, Kirk, and I know you can attest to this. We've talked about this. somebody said, well, people see Dogman and werewolf types creatures way more than they see vampires. And I was like, I don't believe that. I don't think that's true. Vampires are able to just blend in easier. And also,
You'll never know a vampire till it's too late.
Yeah.
They can be standing right beside you and you won't have a clue.
Yep. And I know a lot of people would probably sit there and think we're out of our heads to say this, but I will go out on a limb and say that there are a lot more than people think there are, and sometimes you'll see them in their true form. I got one out of Portugal, a story out of Portugal not too long ago, and it was really weird. I got one out of Brazil, one out of Portugal, and then one in France, and it was so weird. The one, I believe it was in Portugal. I got to tell that story at some point, but not tonight. But it was so weird. The guy was working on an apartment complex and encountered something in there. And it was just, it's a crazy story. But tell us what you've been doing, what you got going on.
Oh, I actually got a couple investigations going on that are going to be a little bit out of our normal. I'm looking into a disappearance of a person that, quite frankly, will probably lead right back to a vampire. There also in this area over the last couple years have been 4 severed heads found, and none have ever been able to be identified. There was a rumor that there was a vampire hunter up here during this time, and myself and my partner Hank and several others had actually found a vampire safe house in 2019. So all kind of the general same area, and the actual preferred method to kill a vampire is to cut their head off.
Yeah. And explain to the audience, because some people probably think we're talking just about an energy vampire or a group of goth people who like to drink blood.
No. These vampires are as real as they get. They are not human, but they are not far from human. They are probably an offshoot of the human race. Probably happened somewhere 50 to 60,000 years ago. They developed their specialized intestinal tract to be able to process the blood that they drank. Of course, they actually prefer younger blood. For them, somebody, say 5 years old to 12 years old is pretty much a preferred age range because of the adrenochrome in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's probably a bad word to say on YouTube, but
well, anything that's truthful, you're not supposed to talk about it on any kind of media platform.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the truth needs to be out there. People need to know the truth. They need to know what is going on in this world. There's more than just the cryptids that are out there. And the sad fact is, number one, the government knows all this stuff is out there. And number two, the vampires and witches are in the government also. So it's kind of like a double whammy.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this, Kirk, and we've spoken before, but tell the audience, how did you get involved in all of this? What set you on this path?
Well, in 1977, as a 18-year-old kid, I'll call myself a kid because, I'm a whole lot older now, but I actually was deer hunting, archery at a orchard just outside of Sutton, West Virginia, with my father-in-law and my brother-in-law, and encountered a Bigfoot from just about 40 yards. It stood there with its back turned to me. It was facing away, and I watched it for probably a minute and a half to 2 minutes. Just absolutely terrified, had no idea what it was, couldn't deal with it, and trying to, in my mind, rationalize it. Okay, maybe it's a bear. I knew it wasn't a bear. And quite frankly, that got me digging. I had to find out what it was I saw. And the more I dig, the more along the way I find other cryptids. Never wanted to find any other cryptids, but once you find one, then you kind of got to dig into it too, and things just keep expanding and expanding.
Yeah. When I'm going to have you come on, and we're going to record, and we have a wider audience from the podcast, and that's why I wanted to do a
Sure.
recording with you, because
Sure.
you had something involving. We're not going to talk about it tonight, but folks, it's a really good story, and I want to talk about it. I'm gonna put it on the podcast, but you had something involving a gnome when you were a child.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
That's a very rough subject for me, and I tried to stay away from that. But since you brought it up, I will talk about it. Yes, about the time I was 8 years old, our family was pretty well bothered by a gnome. It was.
But we'll talk about it on the podcast.
Okay.
We'll leave that one for the folks. So you've been doing investigations now. In what state are you in?
I am in Pennsylvania right now, but I've investigated from Anne Arundel, Maine, all the way down to Key West, Florida, and as far west as Pikes Peak, Colorado.
Yeah, we were just talking about Colorado. And so let me ask you a question. Since you've been doing all this, the Bigfoot research and stuff, and I know you work with Mike, who's out of Oklahoma.
Right.
Like, what have you guys come across? First of all, let me ask you your opinion, because we've talked about this a little bit, but I don't know your full opinion on it. What is your stance on what Bigfoot is? First of all, because I don't know that.
Bigfoot is flesh and blood. Bigfoot can be killed. But the Native Americans also believe that Bigfoot is part spiritual, and Bigfoot can only be killed when it is in its physical form. When it goes into a spiritual form, then it cannot be. So, does Bigfoot clone? Yes, they do cloak. How they cloak, I'm not sure. So I'm not 100% sure what they are, but I know they will die. I know they will bleed.
Yeah. And do you feel like they're benign, or do you think that there's something evil about them, sinister about them, or they're just kind of in between, or what is your thoughts on that?
Josh, let me say this to you. If I put you in a room with 100 rattlesnakes, tell you don't worry, only one's going to bite you. That's kind of what Bigfoot's like. The majority of them probably just want left alone. But if you run into the wrong one, you could be dinner.
Yeah.
Or it might just hang you in a tree.
Yeah.
They're nothing to fool with. I tell everybody, protect yourself at all times. We don't go out necessarily to try to kill one. When we go out, though, we are armed. And it simply is for protection. Now, Dogman, on the other hand, I'm not really convinced that they are that docile.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know.
I just don't.
I'm not
I was
going to give them the opportunity.
Yeah, I don't think they really have a need to be. You know, when
Nope.
you have
Nope.
so many weapons on you, it's like, why be docile?
Yeah, they are both apex predators. And in a fight between Dogman and Bigfoot, I'm not really sure which one will win. I do know there's an old Indian legend that there was actually a war between Dogman and Bigfoot that happened up here on the Ohio River by Moundsville, West Virginia. And even though the Bigfoot outnumbered Dogman by about 2-1, they decimated each other's numbers to the point where there were very few of either. So that's kind of how the war ended. It was really nobody won. It's just they both quit fighting while there were still a few of them left.
And so that's the reason there weren't as many, but their numbers are returning now.
Their numbers are vastly growing now.
In particular in national parks, state parks. That's what I've gathered. Yeah. I had a question for you about that, Kirk, because one of the things that I've sort of uncovered in my investigations, these Dogman, Bigfoot, whatever creatures were, I believe they're from the inner earth originally. That's where they were, at least at one point, that's kind of where they were coming out of, because they're often found
they
around
still
cave
use
systems.
the inner earth to live.
Yeah, absolutely. But a lot of them have come up, and I think what we were dealing with here, my theory, is that we're just dealing on the surface. We're dealing with a surface population that's the surplus population, and that there are huge hives of these creatures, not just these animalistic type creatures like them, but very intelligent civilizations and beings that live within the earth. It goes so deep. I mean, I think that it talks about in Revelation that we're
Josh, and you can include gnomes in that also.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And when we touch on the gnomes, we'll talk about the city of gnomes underneath.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. There's a lot to talk about, folks. You guys, if you're not checking out their channel, you got to go check it out, man. I was watching you guys the other day, and it got me jacked. I was like, dude, these guys are on the level. I heard you talking at the beginning, and then Mike started talking, and I was like, dude, these guys got some good stuff. And you guys have not only do you guys have like you and Mike do a really good job. Like, you really flesh out the investigations. I think Mike did an incredible job on the dog attacks, and kind of laying it out there. And you go really deep, and you have a deep understanding of the rich history of these creatures. And almost any subject we touched on, you knew something about it. And I like that. That's very well-rounded. And that's the kind of people that need to be doing podcasts and shows, because it takes a lot to keep me captivated and going like, oh, okay, this is something, but when you can keep my attention for an hour, that's pretty good, because I feel like I've already heard everything, done everything. It's like it's there. And then you guys come along and just adds to it.
Great job.
Yeah.
We did a great job if we were able to keep you captivated for an hour.
Yeah, and you did. And so you guys, somebody had just said y'all recently did a couple episodes. I haven't been able to keep up because I got the books coming out and everything, but you guys did some work on the vampire subject, which I've been waiting for other people to do.
Did some work on the vampires the other night. And actually last night did some work on witches. As I say, we're going to be doing a lot more on the vampires. We have one professional vampire hunter signed up for sure. It's 100% done deal. We have a second professional vampire hunter from Europe who I'm just waiting on him to sign the papers to guarantee that he will be on the show. And we will have two on the show within 2 weeks of each other, and that will be in the month of October, just in time for Halloween.
That sounds interesting. That sounds good. Are you guys planning on making it out to the conference? I hope you do.
Mike cannot because he's got a couple surgeries.
Oh, that's
but
right.
yes, I plan on it.
Oh, I hope you can. I hope you make it out there. It'll at the very least put you on the panel. We're going to have a couple different ones, dude. Definitely need you out there. It's sad that Mike can't make it. I really wish he could. But at some point, we're going to have to do
also.
Yeah. I want to do a show with Mike and get him back on or get him on with me about the dog attack thing and let him go into detail about it, and the reports. But I'm definitely looking forward to having you come on, and then we can go in depth with a lot of these subjects that we're touching on here, and probably end up doing 2 or 3 hours. I mean, it's got to be.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Like I said, I could easily give you 4 hours.
Yeah, and then what we'll probably do, folks, is just put it on like we did the Garitano interviews, and we'll just do them one every Thursday, and we'll release them that way. Because when I started talking to you, I was like, dude, when I got off the phone, I told my team, I said, there's too much. There's no way that Kirk, you can't just give him an hour and go, oh, okay, well, that's, because if you and I both started talking, Jesus would return and we'd still be talking. And then we'd have to be told to be quiet.
About the truth.
Yeah. He'd have to tell us to be quiet, but yeah. It's just, there's so much there. Of your knowledge of what you got going on. Let me ask you this, when in regards to Dogman. Now, this is a question I have for you, and I wanted to wait until you were on the show to ask you this. Some people believe that the vampires and the werewolves are in cahoots. What are your thoughts on that?
No, they are not.
Okay.
Now, I can tell you the vampires and the witches do work together.
Mm-hmm.
I won't throw the names out, but the quote most powerful witch in the world lives about 30 miles from me.
Wow.
Says that her father is Satan, her mother is Lilith.
And if anybody doesn't know who Lilith is, that was Adam's first wife.
First wife.
Yeah. And that's in the Kabbalah. It's basically the book of Jewish mysticism where it says that she wanted to be the dominant person in the relationship and he didn't want her. He wanted, and so then there was an argument. And after she was cast out of the garden, she went out and set about creating demons.
Right.
And demons is a relative term that can mean all kinds of things. But she created by mating with Satan. But Satan is also a race of beings called the Shaitan, which, What about this stuff that's going on right now? Have you kept up with anything that's going on? Like, what are your thoughts on aliens, demons,
Well, and that's a double-edged sword because by profession, I am an engineer. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I was trained to, of course, adhere to all the principles of the laws of physics. Well, with just adhering to all the laws of physics, I would be the world's biggest fool to say that this planet is the only one inhabited. The math alone says that there have to be more planets inhabited. So, there again, were we the first? Were we the last? If we were the last or somewhere in the middle, then of course there's going to be races that are more advanced than us. Okay, but on the spiritual hand, we are taught that no, those are demons. Mm-hmm. So it's always back and forth. Of course, I'm going to go with the Bible simply because I believe the Bible. But I will tell you there is a good argument for the math. Good argument to say that there are aliens out there that are not demons, that are from another world, from probably even another dimension. Mm-hmm. Now, there is And I don't know how much I can say. There's a TV show that's filmed at a ranch right now.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I know exactly what you're talking
one of the hosts on it in some of the experiments that they have been doing has actually pretty well proved out now that wormholes do exist. So if a wormhole exists, that means interstellar travel is 100% possible.
and I do believe that that's how they travel too. And I believe that some of
Sure.
these people that live within the earth, I say people because the Bible says that, but if they're in the
Yeah,
earth,
very good.
yeah, I mean, I think some of them are seated here, and some of them just kind of
Yes.
got left and became their own whatever. Somebody asked me about Mars the other day, and there's a guy who's a pretty good. He's a remote viewer, but I mean, we're not like friends or anything. But he reached out to me and
Right.
he asked me about it. And he said, "Did you know that there are people living within the core inside of Mars?" And I said, "Doesn't surprise me." And he asked me what I thought about it, and I said, "Why not? They're living here. Why wouldn't they?"
Exactly.
And then he said, "Did you know that they actually came from Mars to this Earth?" And I'm like, "Yeah. I mean, that totally makes sense. I mean, if you look at the different like creatures on this Earth, like we don't even know how the cephalopods are related. They're not related to anything else,
Correct.
and they're just kind of there. And we're like, how is this even possible?"
Yep. And that's why science believes they are actually alien beings.
Mm-hmm.
Don't we believe the same thing about fungi?
Mm-hmm. We don't, because it's not a plant and it's not an animal.
And
Correct.
it's intelligent, to be honest.
But I'm a fun guy too, though. I think.
Oh, ha, ha, ha.
Well, I think I am. You know, my mom said I was handsome. She's like, "Mijo, everybody thinks you're ugly, but I think you're handsome." Her opinion's all that matter.
Hey.
That's it.
Nellie evidently thinks that you're handsome.
Yeah, I conned
Okay,
her.
so
I got her to. I got that
He
one.
spread his cordyceps and
Yeah, cordyceps. You know, get it out there. But you know, here's a weird thing too. Like we did an alien abduction case. We as a team, we interviewed some people for an alien abduction case, and it was really freaky. And they said that they saw a creature that was in an enclosure. Was it in a cage or no? What did they say? Behind a it was like invisible, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But there was like some sort of shield there.
Yeah.
And what he said was really interesting. I mean, and they were told that, if I remember correctly, I don't have the notes in front of me, but I want you to hear this, Kirk. They said that there was this vampiric-looking creature, and that it was just kind of hunched
Okay.
over with its wings folded up. It had wings. It was like in its true form, like an ancient
Yeah.
being. And it was funny that you said 50 to 60,000 because that's exactly what they told this person. They said that it was thousands. They've been here for thousands of years. And it was from somewhere else, like an alternate reality or in a dimension. And that they said if it was loosed upon our Earth, it could destroy humanity within days because
sure,
it
I can
carries a
believe
plague.
that.
Yeah.
Now,
And what these vampires have here is like a small, just little bit of that. You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
What are your thoughts on that?
I'm going. God, okay. I'm going to go ahead and let your listeners know something that very few people have ever been told. I talked with Mike about it, and Mike was like, well, you know, I don't know if our channel is really a channel that should be saying this because we try to stay away from the aliens and such.
Mm-hmm.
But my grandfather on my dad's side was an electrical engineer,
As my dad was too.
did a lot of work for the U.S. government to the point where he was prime draft age for World War II, but yet they would not draft him. He was marked 4F because he was more valuable here. Well, anyways, in 1966, he got in Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. And of course, he always kept everything secret, wouldn't say anything. Well, in 1971, he was on an airplane headed up to Groton, Connecticut, to the submarine pens to do some work up there. And he had a massive heart attack on the airplane. They did an emergency landing in Keene, New Hampshire. They were able to keep him alive. Did emergency open heart surgery. Didn't really look like he was going to make it. He just kind of hung on for about 4 weeks. And when I say they, I don't know who paid the bill. I'm assuming it was the government paid the bill to actually send him by ambulance from Keene, New Hampshire, all the way back to Grafton, Ohio, because he wanted to die at home. And once he got to the house and they got him in the hospital bed and such, we were all gathered round, and he wanted to make his dying declaration. And in that, he said when he was in Wright-Patterson Air Force Base that he actually saw, as he put it, 3 little gray men. One of them there wasn't a lot left of. The other 2 were pretty much intact. Now, he went on to tell us that the machine that he was working on there, he didn't really know what it was, but that it used magnets instead of x-rays. Well, the good thing is Grandpa ended up, he did pull through, and he lived another 10 years or so. And once he got back healthy, he'd never say anything more about it. But it ended up being that the very first MRI in the world was the one at Wright-Patterson. That was the one he was working on, and that was strictly so the government could understand more what these 3 recovered creatures were that they had.
When you talked to your grandfather about this, did he believe that they were alien? Did he say they were aliens, or what did he call them?
He just called them little gray men. He said they were actually recovered from Roswell, is what he was told.
Wow.
So, I mean, I don't know what you would recover from Roswell other than from the supposed UFO crash.
Yeah. That pretty much, yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty. Do you
know, especially if you've ever been there, there just ain't nothing out there.
Yeah, there's
really.
nothing out there except the UFO stuff. We're talking about little men, little creatures, little, as they say in Spanish, monitos. Do you think that this could have something to do with like stories of fairies, of elves or gnomes or goblins or anything like that? Do you think that has anything to do with it?
Not at all.
No. Okay.
Nope, totally different.
Why do you think, like, what is it that you think they are? Like, because some of the abduction stories of Fae kind of are reminiscent of alien abduction. That's why I was wondering about that.
Okay. The gnomes, the little people, they pull people underground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The people, when they take them underground for some reason, it's like time stands still. And I had actually got into that. And when we go into the gnomes, we will get into that. But time stands still. There's a pretty good documented case of a girl that had been missing for 40 years that still looked 9 years old after 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where was it, what was this at? Where was the location?
That was in Alaska, just outside Nome.
Wow. And it's called Gnome. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
weird. I was talking on the show one day about a book that's considered to be forbidden, and especially by the Arabs. They just absolutely believe that you should never read it or even have a digital copy of it. And it's odd because they always refer to their, demons or whatever as the jinn. But this particular book, they say very specifically that it is guarded by a race of elves, and that the knowledge within it is considered to be forbidden. And I'm not going to say the name of it again. I've said it on the show a couple of times already. I'm not going to keep saying it, but because people may be foolish enough to go out and try to get this book, and I don't want the karma from whatever they've unleashed, and it's on me because I said it. But
sure,
it is odd though, because somebody had told me recently. This person, they're from Jordan, and they were talking to me. As my brother has a really good friend from there, and they were telling us that is very specific, and it's like it's not the jinn, and it's like, because it says in the hadith that they are actually neighbors, but what they are a race of beings, and they are very, very they guard that particular knowledge, and they call it knowledge, not magic, which is weird. And it's just like it's so, like, when you start thinking about it. I was talking to someone. She was up in northern Scotland, and she believed that she had an encounter with the Fae. But she said that she had a good friend that was working in Calcasaria. What is that place in Egypt where they're doing the dig? I told you the name the other day, Anthony. We were going over it. Calcasaria. I can't. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're uncovering like what may be one of the oldest relics, whatever. So one of my friends, Morgana, she's there, and she's friends. She's the one that got me in touch with this woman from she's from Ireland, but she went to northern Scotland and had this encounter. And it mirrored something that had happened to a Berber from Tunisia, and they had told her it was a porter working there, and it was almost identical. Like they were abducted, literally, but by two different things. There was like a sand demon, and then this other one. This was like a gnome, like a little creature, and the gnome creature tried to give her what I think was Amanita muscaria. Well, people don't know what that is. Look it up. It's a type of mushroom. And it was eating it, and it was trying to give it to her, but they looked like little children, but they were bald, and they had hairlines like grown men, and they weren't kids. But at first she thought they were children.
Between 3 and 4 foot tall.
Yeah, absolutely. They weren't like super small either. Yeah, they were little, but they were like dwarves.
Yeah, and they are heavily muscled.
Yeah, some of them are, yeah. And their skin tone didn't match. Like it wasn't. Yeah, they were like a tannish color or something.
Right.
And she thought they were really weird looking.
Yeah, they're off colored, and when they laugh, they don't laugh. They cackle. It's a very evil laugh. If you ever hear it, you will never in your life forget it.
Yeah. That's creepy. I mean, it gives me the chills thinking about it. And then you start thinking about these things, and you're like, what, like, how can people still think that we live on just this floating ball of rock? And they just have no clue, like, of what or who is out there. I mean, it's like you go out at night and just, The
last figure that I have, and I do try to stay up on current events happening. The last figure that I have was there's approximately 1.2 billion Earth-type inhabitable planets.
Yeah.
So, 1.2 billion. That's an awful lot.
when you start getting into the whole pond Earth thing too, it's really interesting because, and I'm not saying I believe or subscribe to any of all this, whatever. I just read it and I study it. But one of the things that was proposed to me was that Antarctica is actually an ice wall that surrounds the Earth, and that it is round, it is, circular, but it's not in the
Definitely.
way that we think it is, and that there are Earths within Earths within Earths. And I have been in a dream state before and felt like I was communicating with something, and then I just had a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were telling me the same thing. And she was saying, I had this dream, and I was like, holy crap! When she was talking about it, I was like, that just happened to me.
Josh, do you know who Admiral Byrd is?
Of course, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, are you familiar with his diary
Yes.
about
Yep.
what he found in Antarctica?
Oh yeah, the hole to the inner Earth. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that should tell people something. And that, quite frankly, is exactly what Adolf Hitler was looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, the inner Earth, and they had an organization called the White Order of Thule, because they were looking for the land of Thule, and that's another interesting subject because they believe that the people that lived in Thule, which a lot of people believe is Greenland, they had a war. The human inhabitants had a war. Who are actually, get this, the person that was telling me about the Mars theory, these beings came here, they ended up in Thule, which a lot of people believe is Green, like I said.
Is Greenland.
Greenland, yeah, because Eric, the Red, what's his name? Leif Erikson believed
Right.
that it was, the land of Thule. And there's a whole bunch of stuff about it. And then they were saying that they had a war with the gnomes that lived there, or dwarves, gnomes, whatever, and that they lost because they were so powerful and they had magic, and that the science and technology could not defeat them, and that they were
Right.
actually seeded here way before from another world, but through a Stargate. And so when the inhabitants that came here, this is what I was told, they had giants that were living within the earth, and they stayed on one side, and they stayed away from the dwarf gnome creatures because those gnome creatures were extremely powerful. And
Okay, let me stop you for just a second.
yeah, go ahead.
You're familiar with Loveland Cave.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Okay, we know that there were giants in Loveland Cave. Did you know their bones disappeared?
No, I did not.
Yeah, the Smithsonian Institute lost them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Sounds like
the
the
second
Serbian
thing I'm going to
werewolf.
say is I also know for a fact that gnomes die.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
They can die. Absolutely.
Yes.
There's different ways to kill them, too, just like there are vampires, just like there are werewolves, just like there are other things.
Well, I can tell you this. Regular leaded gasoline and a match works good.
That's messed up. No comment on that, but I would tend to agree with that. And I've now here's the thing about telling people how to kill vampires and werewolves that I don't like doing on the show, because I don't want somebody going, my neighbors seem kind of suspicious, so I lit them on
Yeah,
fire. That's
I
not
know.
something I want you to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, we ran into somebody the other day that was swearing up and down that their neighbor was a vampire, and we were out in public, and I was like, they're like, what do I do? And I'm like, I don't want you to do something.
Yeah, you don't do anything.
Just stay away from them if you can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Protect yourself at all times, but do not under any circumstances engage. You are not a professional. There are at this moment about 6 professional vampire hunters in the world.
Wow. I don't think
Yeah.
I know one. I don't think I do. But if you do, you probably wouldn't know it anyway, because they don't go around advertising it.
Exactly. But like I say, you will hear 2 of them in October.
Wow, I'm looking forward to it. I want to hear that. The whole thing with the Thule And, you know, these beings, the way it seems to me, and I know this is going to sound, if folks, if you're new to the show, you're not part of the initiated, not like somebody like Kirk and I and most of the audience are initiated. We know how this works. You're going to think these people are crazy. They're off of their rocker. I'm going to tell you right now, we are not crazy. We are not off of,
No.
I'm telling you, this is the real world. You go every day of your life, you put on your pants, you brush your teeth, comb your hair, you go to work, you do whatever it is that you do. That is the mundane life that you think is real, but that is not the real world. This is the real world, and that is just like this going through the motions of a simulation almost. Most people are walking around on this planet, on this whatever it is, and they have no clue of what is out there or who is around them or what is around them. No clue.
No, they don't.
Yeah. And so when you go into the stories and you get story after story after story after story, and then people like you guys are going to the investigations, and you know how many times I've been told by people that I went out to look for Bigfoot and they saw gnomes, they saw elves or goblins or something. You know, it happens
Oh, yeah.
all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
These things are out there. They're in parks, national, state. And the funny thing is, I don't know how familiar you are with trying to get records from a park.
Yeah, I heard that it's like
almost
pulling teeth.
impossible.
Yeah.
You file a Freedom of Information Act, and that's basically useless because it's already been ruled that they do have to give you what you ask for, but you have to pay for it. The price they set was $2 a sheet for the first sheet and $1 for every sheet thereafterwards. And when we looked into Salt Fork State Park in Ohio,
Can you imagine?
for disappearances, they had over 250,000 pages, and it's either you buy them all or you get nothing.
Oh my gosh. See, and that is, it's like hoarding information.
Right.
Yeah. And that keeps everybody from being able to, and oh, you can get the information. It's just, you got to be a billionaire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we took a different approach then after that. So Salt Fork State Park is a pretty big park, and it has the New Egypt hunting area, which is pretty much part of the park, but it's considered separate. They're side by side. So what we did was we started tracking down every little town surrounding that park and started looking for cases of missing people. Okay, from 2000 until 2021, we come up with 33 people missing.
Wow.
Now, those are not highly populated areas, so that's a very big number of people missing. So then we started digging a little bit further to see if we could find a pattern. We did find a pattern. Out of the 33 missing, 31 of them were female from 11 to the age of 37.
Mm-hmm.
Of all of the females taken, all but 2 were taken between the end of March and the end of June.
Wow. I have a theory about that, but I don't think I could say it on air.
I do too.
I wish I
We
could.
cannot, we cannot share it on the show.
Yeah,
I mean,
Tony.
we all have the theories.
We all think we know
Right.
exactly, but it's folks, and we're not trying to be meta here, like we're, but it's the truth. I mean, we do know, we kind of, but we can't.
There's some things that just aren't allowed.
We just can't say it. The media is
Right.
We just aren't, I'm sorry. Jerry, thank you for that donation. He says, this is a great conversation. Most humans are clueless about the paranormal and aliens. There is so much hidden from us, yes. And there's
It's
a
funny how
reason.
you said that, though. Most humans.
Yeah.
We just did that show about non-humans, and
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it, 33 in 21 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you're averaging about 1.5 per year, or 1 this year, 2 next year, and the fact that these cases are never closed, they never find any bodies, they never find any evidence.
Yeah, and it's weird that you come up with that number 33, because that number comes up quite a bit, and there's reasons for that too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Believe me, that was a big red flag to me too.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and you get the same numbers that come up over and over again too. I think a lot of what we're dealing with is hidden, but it's still in plain sight because there's rules of engagement, and there are legalities involved in the spirit world too.
Yep,
Yeah,
you hit the nail on the head.
yeah, and so they have to disclose a certain amount of stuff that you can't. I mean, and then if you're, and it is at our to our own detriment that we ignore it, and we ignore the
Yep.
signs and symbols. And when people don't look into things, like I look into symbolism all the time. Like I just see it. It's like it's right there. I'm like, it's right there. And some people are like, I don't see it. And then I feel like SpongeBob with plankton on. How can you not see it? You know, and it's like, I just don't see it, SpongeBob. But it's like, it's right there. Like, how can you not? I mean, if you are willfully ignorant, which seems to be the order of the day, it's a cult of ignorance that they've they've instilled into everybody, and to create this NPC non-playable character mindset where people just wander around aimlessly, mindlessly every day. And I just don't get it. I don't know how they can do that.
I don't look for symbolism. I just look for the data, and the symbolism just automatically jumps out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's funny. It's like how we always mention, the abyss gazing back, but that's what it feels like. It's like once you notice a little bit, then you start seeing it everywhere, and it's like you can't get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Once you know what to look for, there is no getting away from this stuff. Mm-hmm. And it literally will cause you to dig deeper and deeper and deeper, because the more you find out that you don't know, but you want to know.
Hey, Kirk, I had a quick question for you.
Sure.
So, of the different people who have been taken by these like these little people, these gnomes, whatever they are, and have been taken underground, and have returned and lived to tell the tale. Have they ever detailed like what they witnessed in the place they were taken?
Oh yes.
So what is it exactly that they are taken to?
They are taken to basically an underground city. The particular boy that I'm going to reference said that it was kind of like a cave, but it was set up like a city. There were hundreds, if not thousands of them down there. And there were also other children down there that they had taken. And they all seemed to be the same age. Even though the one that he talked to, and actually she gave him information to pass on to her parents, but her parents had died. She had been missing 40 years, and she had no clue that long had passed.
Wow.
Yeah, because I have a personal reason for asking. It's just because I have a memory. Well, it's not a memory. It's a memory of a very vivid nightmare that I had one night when I was taken by what I believe would be called kobolds, which are like these small goblin creatures that live specifically like in mines, like coal mines.
Yeah.
And there was like hundreds of them all around me, and they like lifted me up, and it was like I was crowd surfing in a concert.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no control over, like I just couldn't get free of them. and they took me into this cave, and we went deeper and deeper, and eventually, like the tunnel we were going down, it opened up into this big, huge expanse.
Big
And
chamber.
yeah, like this very, very large chamber. And I saw like in the distance, because we were going like down this stairwell that was kind of cut out of the sides of the chamber, and like way like in the distance and way below us on the ground, there was, I remember seeing like this huge, like completely black, it was like an obsidian pyramid. It was just the weirdest, strangest thing. But I mean, of course, it was just a dream or a nightmare. But if
it's
you know
not
anything
just a
about the
dream.
nature of dreams and nightmares, you know, sometimes it's not that simple. So I don't know.
That's
But I
exactly
vividly
right.
remember that.
That's exactly right. And I can actually pretty well tell you exactly where you were taken, where you saw that at, and you more than likely actually were taken. Now, I'm responsible for about, right now, I guess it's 7 different weld shops throughout the U.S. One of my weld shops is in Houston. Okay. So, of course, not that far from you guys in the grand scheme of things. You remember Hurricane Harvey?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just before Hurricane Harvey, I was down there and I had a welder come up to me because he had been told that I looked into Bigfoot and other creatures. And he started confiding in me that he was having trouble at home. And at first, when he said he was having trouble at home, I assumed he meant, you know, with his wife, with their marriage. And then he started telling me, no, they were basically prisoners in their own house once the sun went down. And I'm like, okay, I'll bite on this one. What is going on? And out of the clear blue, he started telling me that they have about 10 gnomes that would surround their house at night, at times even come into their house. And he did actually get a couple pictures of them. Well, his house happened to be one that was underwater from Hurricane Harvey. His house was under almost 20 foot of water. After Harvey, the insurance did rebuild the house. The man has never had another encounter with a gnome. So we believe that the gnomes probably either drowned or left the area because of it. If they left the area, which is what I believe happened, he chooses to believe they drowned, you know, simply because if they're dead, they can't bother them anymore. And if I'm right, they can come back at any time. But, you know, Houston is a pretty big city.
Yeah.
And for there to be gnomes in Houston, that tells you they can be any damn where.
Oh yeah, and I mean, Houston's one of the most sprawled out, like land-wise, the biggest, yeah, the largest city in the United States. So there's
Land-wise.
yeah, land-wise. So there's
Right.
plenty of real estate there for them.
Yep.
Yeah, I think those are
Now
probably
there,
like my least favorite, most loathed cryptids is like the gnomes, little people, goblins.
Well,
They're
the
just so
ones
insidious.
you saw in your dream, like how do they look? How tall were they? Were they kind of ugly?
Yeah, like they were black too, like completely black because that, like, I believe that they would have been, like I said, called kobolds because they're usually found in like coal mines. So it just makes sense. Like if you're found in a coal mine, you're gonna be covered in like soot, and
right.
that they were probably maybe no more than maybe 3 feet at best.
Hideous looking things.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
ugly and like
Oh, that explains it then.
but their skin was kind of had like a sheen to it.
Well, they
It's
just
weird.
grabbed you because they thought you were their king.
Oh God.
Now, you do realize that there are reports of a black, assumed to be obsidian, pyramid in Alaska.
Oh,
In Australia.
was that?
And Australia as well.
I don't know about Australia, but I know about the one about Alaska.
Wolf has
And
been said that they're also found in Australia, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
okay, cool.
Antarctica too.
Yeah, I was
Well,
gonna say I thought I remember
I
one
knew
in
about
Antarctica.
Antarctica. I knew about Antarctica, but because of the proximity, you know, it's not out of the realm that he actually could have been taken to that one up in Alaska.
Yeah, the Black Pyramid is very. It's universal. I have a friend who's Maori, and he's from New Zealand. I used to fight with him all the time. Not fight. We didn't fight, but we fought together. We were trained together.
Sure.
And he lived. Him, and I guess he would be considered my stepbrother from my stepdad from a long time ago. I met him through him because we all trained together, and they went and got a job out in Australia. And I guess Philip's dad had lived down there at one time, and what they did was they wrangled dingoes because the dingo population would get out of control, and they would try to kill
Sure.
all the kangaroos. So they had built this long fence in the middle of the outback. A very dangerous job, not the taking care of the dingoes, but because you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're miles and miles and miles and miles away from water. So you had to
Yep.
carry water with you everywhere.
Yep.
And they would tell you like you're this far away from water, you're this many kilometers from water. And so it's a dangerous and deadly place because it's always hot. One of the Aborigines that they worked with had literally told them that while they had broke down one day and the radio didn't work. And this was back in the early 90s, and they didn't have like cell phones, stuff like that.
Right.
And the next patrol or whatever would have been I think he said it was 2 days later. And he said, dude, we were almost out of water. And he said that out of nowhere, they see this, you know how the heat shimmers, you know? They see
Oh,
these
sure.
two little like black figures just walking out in the middle of the outback. And so they thought, you know, maybe those are people. They thought they were dressed in black, because they were wearing like robes, like little hoods or whatever.
Right.
So he's like delirious. He decides to go out there, and the Aboriginal guy told him, no,
No, not a
don't
good
mess with
idea.
them. He goes, if you go out there, they're going to take you. And there were 3 of them.
Yep.
And one of the guys, the 3 guys, and there were 2 little creatures. One of the guys was so delirious from lack of water that he ran out. This is a story that was told to him, the Maori, a friend of mine. He ran out there and sure enough, he disappeared into the shimmer, and they never
Imagine
found
that.
him. Yeah, they never found him. But for days, they dreamed of an upside down black pyramid, and their friend was screaming for their help, and they couldn't reach him. And it was
Right.
like he was trying to scream out to them. Well, and I don't agree with this, but one of them did go to what they call like a mystic or a shaman, and she was an Aboriginal, and they like smoked some tobacco together or whatever, and it was tobacco, it wasn't something else. And then they did this
Right.
like kind of sweat lodge kind of thing, like where they went up on this ridge, on this hill, and they sweated, and they saw a vision, and the woman asked them what it was. Well, she interpreted it that their friend he was dead. And that's the only reason they could hear his cries, because when they were asleep, you leave your body, which I know that. And
Right.
they were able to hear him screaming and crying for help because his soul was trapped there now with what they called the, oh God, I can't remember there was some weird name that the Aboriginals gave them. And they said they're the only ones that live out there. And there is supposedly, and the government, this is what they said, the government of Australia knows this. This is what they said. I'm not saying this is what I believe. This is what I was told. That underground there is a giant lake under there that's miles down, like 2 miles down in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they get their water, these little creatures. But the government knows that those creatures are so bad that they won't mess with them. And they possess a type of black magic, which we know as black science. And it will keep you from, and so I did a bunch of research on that, and I found that they believe that they came from the dream time, and that's the time before time. And the Aboriginals have been there for tens of thousands of years. And the
Correct.
Aboriginal, he knew not to go out there. So he gave Philip the warning. Philip's Maori's from New Zealand. It's a lot tamer, But he told him, he said, don't go out there if you get, thirsty, whatever, no matter what happens, I don't know how delirious you are. He goes, you'd be better off dying of thirst because at least your soul can transcend and instead of being trapped in the pyramid. And so that was a story that was relayed to me. It was very creepy, very, very strange. Another one I got was out of the Caspian. And this is a really quick story, but somebody claimed that whenever, and we talked about this on the Deep Sea Humanoids episode, but whenever these mermen would grab you, they take you down into the water, and you're alive. They take you down into what they describe as an underwater hell, which is their world. And they live in a sort of pyramidal structure, and they take you there, and you're enslaved there and used kind of as a battery. Your soul becomes a battery because you are energy, and they harvest you as energy. These creatures are adept at this too, and people don't understand. They think it's a joke. This isn't a joke. It's not a game.
No,
We're not up
not
here
at
just talking
all.
crap. This is the truth. And I'm not saying that this Aboriginal is 100% correct, but people tend to disregard natives, like when the native Berbers told the Arabs when they first conquered, the area of North Africa, they warned them of these sandskeet, these demons that would travel on the whirlwinds or whatever. And of course, the Arabs were like, well, those are just jinn, whatever. And they thought that they could just say verses from the Quran and it would.
Yeah.
But these creatures had no clue or anything about what they were taught, and they don't care. They're not
Yeah,
adhering
they do
to
not
anything.
care.
Yeah, they don't give a crap what you say or do. And they were not from the Levant. This was a whole different type of creature. And, maybe look similar and do similar things, but every region has its own specific type of entity. And you have to understand, not you, Kirk, or you guys, but the audience, I'm telling you, and those that are not initiated, you have to understand that spouting off things from your religion may work on some, but may not work on all. And it depends on your faith and how strong you are. Because sometimes when they can sense that you're not as strong, you're just spouting stuff off, they're going to come in for the kill because they know that you're just feigning. Well, like, yeah, I'm denouncing you. Well, over what power do you have to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you can exacerbate a situation. Well, a lot of there are stories, and I read this. It was about Saladin, and one of the things I was reading an old book. It was from 1826 or something, and I was reading it. There was this friend of mine who had this library. He collected old books way out of print. And it was written by this Dr. Barger or something. He was a British guy, like a naturalist. And he was talking about, it was about Saladin. And I remember him saying that his army was attacked by these sand devils not in Tunisia, Morocco. And they lost a third of their men.
Yep.
And they literally choked the horses and camels to death by going in and then breathing them in. And he said, these are unlike anything we've ever faced in the Middle East. He goes, I don't know what this is, but these demons are powerful. They're like the most powerful, demons we've ever dealt with. Well, they were warned by the Berber not to go into the desert in certain areas, and Saladin's men did it anyway, and they paid the price. There is something to be said for that. When the natives, like the Aboriginals, the Native Americans, the Berbers, when they tell you, don't go there, you probably shouldn't go there. I mean, the Alaskans, the Inuits, same thing. They'll tell you there's a black pyramid there. You shouldn't go there. And people were like, well, you know what? I think I'll just go check that out because that's, the folly of man is like, stupidity. I mean, it's just, that's what you do.
Exactly.
When I was in Africa, there were people that they would talk of these hyena-noid creatures. And I think it was Baliweo in South Africa. And they were basically saying that these hyena type men or whatever would take people, and some of them sounded like werewolves, like wolves, And these Belgians, they were like, "Well, I don't believe these stories. These locals tell all these stories, and there's all this stuff." So I said, "Well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and build a fire, and just because they said to do that, it's probably like just the best option."
It's always just like better safe than sorry. Why would you ever take the risk? It's just prideful
That's
at that point,
exactly
or
right.
egotistical to take the risk and think that you know better than people that have been living there for years.
Well, yeah, same thing happened in Guatemala. I mean, when the natives tell you, "Hey, there's these giant birds, the corto cabeza," I'm not going to argue. Go, well, I'm going to go see if that's true. Let me go up there and shake the tree and see if they'll cut my head off. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't even have to be natives. Like, what's funny is like you hear these stories about people that are like, "Oh, I was going out to the woods." Other than an old guy warned me saying, "Hey, don't go out the woods at night," but I just ignored it and went out anyway. Then you're like, they act all confused when like they're attacked and stuff.
And the
They're
old
like,
guy
"Wow, how
was
did
so
this happen?"
old I could see through him.
Yeah.
Smitty
Well,
Jaegerman Jensen. I don't know. What was-
I didn't think nothing of it. I just kept doing what I was doing.
Guy got old because he was smart enough to take others' advice.
That's right. That's exactly right. Kurt, I'm going to let you run, man. Dude, it's been great. And now, folks, you got something to look forward to because I'm going to be recording with Kirk Reed, and we're going to be releasing those. It's going to be more than an hour. I can tell you that.
Oh,
So,
yes.
Definitely want to get you back on, Kurt. You have a lot to say.
No problem.
Yeah, and thank you. I'm going to let you run. I hope you start
Okay.
feeling better. We're not going to keep you any longer, but I want you to take care of yourself because you got a lot to offer. Okay, you got a lot to tell the world, so take care of yourself, man.
No problem, brother.
All right, you too. I'll see you, brother.
Okay. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So that was Kurt Reed, and I know he's not feeling 100%. I'm going to let him run. But, folks, here at Paranormal Roundtable, we try to do our homework. And we don't just get a story. Somebody said that the other day, and me and Tony were laughing about it. We were joking and chuckling. The guy was like, "Oh, you just take a story. You just tell it. You don't even look and see it, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, dude, the guy was trying to, like, he was getting a rise out of us in a group. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to sit here and entertain this nonsense. I mean, that's not what we do. We do a lot of research. I have a stack of comic books like that big that I go.
I have a stack as well, but they're all made by me, so I know they're correct.
Yeah, and they're all just picture books and Tony's. He
Well,
can't.
they're
I'm looking
pop-up
at them
books.
picture books.
Yeah, he can't read too
Pop up
good.
little golden books. There's a whole stack of them. So, when you do as much research as we do, and I'm joking, folks, I don't get all my information from Marvel and DC, just some of it. Now, seriously, though, when you go and you read these ancient texts and reading old books that aren't in print anymore, that is a wealth of information because there's a lot of stuff in those books that you're not going to find. Just like going, there's a place here in Austin called Half Price, and I went there, and I used to go through there and find old books. Some of them were out of print. You're not going to find them on Amazon. And I had a whole library of stuff. I had a couple thousand books, and these two across from me and my brother, and they were like, "Hey, the house is full of books. Most of these you've read. Can you please do something?" And so I did. I made them leave. I made them move out so I could keep my books. But I have an entire wall in my house that's just books. And then I have
that's honestly not even half of them because we have a bunch more just in the garage waiting to be put
storage.
up. Yep.
Yeah,
They're just all over the place, and it's really just a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, you got to read. And people always ask me, how do you do? I was like, just read. But I can read fast. A lot of people can't. But, I mean, and I'm not saying, I'm Superman. People are like, you're always bragging on yourself, talking about how smart you are. I think you're tough and you're strong. If I meet you, I'm going to beat you up. And I'm just like, yeah, right, dude. Okay? I've read about that, too. It's not going to happen. I went to the future, literally read it, and I found they're not going to do that. But, yeah, people are always asking questions, and I tell people all the time, I mean, if you take the time and you read, and I do have an advantage in the way that I have a podcast that we've cultivated, to where there's a system here that people can send stories to, and we get them all the time. Now, here's another thing. If you are someone who sent me a story, I'm doing everything I can to get to your story. don't stop sending them because I got to have good stories to choose from. But that is the thing. I gotta pick and choose. You know what I mean? And yeah, I can't tell everybody's story. You know, it is what it is, folks. You know, and I'm trying. I'm doing my best. I try to bring you a guest every week with interesting and thought-provoking conversation, good stories. People come on the show and tell their stories, or I retell people's stories, whatever the case may be, and the subjects we cover. We try to do our best to bring you our best. We work really hard here at PRT, and we also work full-time jobs. This is not it for me. All right? You know? So somebody said something to me the other day, like, you're just a security guard. And I'm like, okay, if that's what you want to believe.
It's not insulting at all.
I'm like, sorry, I have a job that I actually can, a lot of downtime to read this stuff, you know, and somebody goes, well, that's not fair. You can read. You know, he was kind of joking, I think, but then again, I get insulted so much, who knows whether they're joking or not. I just go, whatever. But the guy was saying basically, you know, that I have an unfair advantage because I can just sit there at my job and read. The truth be told, though, I do guard checks every night. I don't really sit on posts and just read anymore. When sometimes I have to, you know, and we do read. Tony and Anthony had read both of my books.
And truth be told, most people actually do have time to do the things that they say they don't have the time to do. It's just that when they get it, they spend it watching TV or, you know, like
That's exactly
just
right.
sitting on the porch drinking a Bud Light or whatever.
Well, I mean,
it
or it
is.
could just be as simple as them just spending a lot of time on their phone. You know, I think it's
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, stop
Especially
looking at your phone
that.
unless you're reading like I am.
I
Me
catch
and
my-
Tony read our phones all the time.
I catch myself like doing that doom scrolling, and I have
Yeah.
to stop. I'm like, what am I doing to my brain right now?
like
It's just-
YouTube Shorts and TikTok.
Oh, God.
It's just like it catches your attention and it holds you there for like hours, and you won't even realize it because it's just such quick little things happening over and over and over again that you get so much new stuff. But you don't realize like you can do all that in books. You can get invested in a book and have all of that happen, have that same amount of like attention span, but you learn something. Like you're getting something out of it. You don't get anything out of like YouTube Shorts and TikTok Shorts. You get like 30
it's just
seconds.
a temporary dopamine hit until
Well,
you have to. Pull
The
it
only
out
thing I
again.
use the shorts for is to see how good their stuff is. That's actually a good tool.
Yeah, for that.
Yeah.
But like people will only watch it. Like they don't even watch videos. They'll just only watch
Yeah.
the shorts.
Yeah. Hi, Dana. I see Dana Ortega. Thank you, Mike, for tuning in, too. And, of course, to your partner, Kirk Reed, man. And I hope your surgeries go well, brother. I would have loved to have you at the conference. It would have enriched it greatly. Yeah, take care of yourself, man. No, I have not reached out to Steve Isdall yet. I actually got sent a video of his I was watching earlier today, and I do like Steve. I wish I could. I had time to, you know, hit him up, whatever. But, man, and I was actually talking to Josh Anocchio today. We were going back and forth about the conference and getting ready, whatever. He's got the channel, What Lurks Beneath. It's a huge channel with a lot of good information. Go check him out. Check out Abnormal Investigations. Check out Crypto Normal Encounters with B. Moss. She's another good friend of mine and a friend of the channel's. And I do promote other people's work because I think that just like, you know, with Aaron Deese's book, I hope everybody goes out and buys this book. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I mean, if it's anything as good as a documentary, then I'm sure it's good. And it's everything is just adds to your knowledge. You know, so then when we're talking, you know, you have that leg up. You already know, you know.
Well, you also know how to, you know,
Know how to hunt.
well, you know how to speak your knowledge too. That's the thing is like it gives you a lot of comprehension
Yeah.
about how to formulate sentences together and bring them out in a way that people can understand or put your point
Some people are
across.
just haters, man.
Yeah.
Like they're just haters. Like I heard people just bagging on other people, and they don't want. And I'm not going to call out certain podcasters, but there's certain YouTube channelers out there. One of them was hating on Mike the other day, and I just thought, you know, I mean, like he told someone that I know something about, and I'm like, what does he really know? All he is a person who parrots things back. And he was bagging on him, and I said, dude, I don't even think he watches his show or has watched his show. I think he's just saying that because he's jealous.
Well,
It's as simple as that. I mean, it's a jealous thing. I mean,
well, that's the thing about our haters is that they love to watch the show, but
they
most of
watch
them,
they listen to every word, man.
yeah, but most of them don't. They just have like this ignorant hate about it, and it's like, well, you don't even know why you don't like them. You just don't like them for whatever reason, and it's like some minor thing, but you can't pull anything, a valid reason to give that would make you think like, oh, this is the reason why I hate them. And every time I watch their show or read their works or do whatever, these are the points that I notice, and it makes me dislike this person. No, it's just like, oh, he says something one time that I disagree with, so now I everything he does I hate, no matter if it's true or false.
Yeah.
I think they're just bored.
Yeah, they have to be. I mean, bored and too much free time. That's for dang sure.
It's like if you don't have any significant or like meaningful struggles in your life, you start to just pull them out of thin air and make them out of petty things.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, folks, the books I got to record tonight so that you guys will have a delicious episode coming up about vampires. I believe we're going to talk about vampires, right? On this Tuesday episode coming up. Here's the thing. Most of the time when we talk about vampires, somebody's not telling me, hey, I saw a vampire. They're telling me, hey, I saw something weird. And what do you think this is? And then I kind of draw my own conclusion. One story I got was somebody was walking in the mall and they saw a baby vampire. And I just thought, man, that just makes perfect sense. Because what those babies do, the baby vampires, they're just parasites. They just take and take and take all the attention and love and milk and everything else from the adults. And they don't let you sleep, and they're just energy drainers.
And they don't pay no rent.
They're just freeloaders. That's what they are.
No baby in the history of babies has ever paid a single bill.
That's exactly
They
right.
don't do nothing except cry and make a mess.
I know what you're going to say. We were all babies once, but if you say that, you'd be wrong because I was talking at 9 months and I never stopped.
I just came out the womb
I actually would believe that.
man.
No, when Anthony was a baby, I'm going to tell you something funny about Anthony was a baby. He was hideous. He was absolutely hideous.
It's a good thing I had a chance to grow out of it, unlike this.
When Tony was little, though, he was a cute little kid. I thought he was. He was a goofy looking little kid, but he was real quiet. But he was kind of like you. He was real quiet, and he didn't bother nobody, didn't mess with nobody. The thing I didn't like about you when you were little, Tony, is that you ate so slow. You do now still, but like we went to go eat, and you're like 9 or 10, and you just sat there, and you were chewing your food, and it was like excruciating, just sitting there waiting for you to finish, you know. And that's the only thing I didn't like. I was just like, good gosh, what is wrong with this kid? And then Anthony, when he was little, his food couldn't touch.
Yeah.
Right? We're over there eating in Temple at this, remember Tia Hova, she loved that place. And so me and your mama and my mom, we all went out and we were eating and Anthony was like, little mojito, he didn't want to touch his food, he's touching. And so he had to, mommy, you know, and me and my brother were like, what the hell? What's wrong with this kid? You're going to baby this kid. His legs didn't even work. She just carried him everywhere. She didn't.
Yeah, you had to have a
like
wall.
9 years old before he walked.
You know, the funny thing is that I don't remember that, but I still believe it nonetheless because I remember one time I found like an old video of like my birthday party at the old Mr. Gaddy's in Taylor, and like I remember watching it and thinking, God, I was a weird kid because like we had this magician there and he was, you know, everyone was having fun, you know, watching him and he was making jokes and stuff, and like I was kind of off camera at times. And I would just like, I guess I was mad about something. I don't know. Maybe some kid made me mad or maybe I wouldn't get my way for something. So instead of just like saying what it was that was making me mad or that I wanted, I just like, I would just like grunt and make these weird like angry grunt noises like a little cave baby or something. It was weird, dude. It was like watching another human being, but it was me.
Dude, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you a scary story about Anthony. I'm not joking around about this. I was hanging out with your dad and your Uncle Ralph. We were all there and we were hanging out, okay? And, you know, that house, though, was off of Travis Street in Taylor. Now, let me tell you something. Taylor's got a lot of haunted houses, Okay, a lot of small towns do. I was driving through a small town in Texas not too long ago. My wife was like, "Look at that! That's a pretty house. It's haunted." So look at that house. So that one's haunted too. They're all haunted. Everything's haunted. You're gonna die, and it's haunted. Let's just not go there, okay? And so Taylor is no exception. It's got a lot of weird, creepy houses, but that one was creepy. And you used to sleep. Well, I guess you were a sleepwalker. I guess I could say that.
Yeah.
And so I was laying there on the couch, and my brother was asleep on the recliner, and we had hung out, whatever, and I had tied one on. You know, we had some drinks, and your mom was making these drinks. I don't know if you heard of them, the Mississippi Specials.
No.
And she was making some kind of drink. You know, I believe that's what it was, and we were sitting there, and this is creepy, dude. I'm not gonna lie, and I just hear breathing behind me, kind of like, you know, and I'm like this weird noises. And I roll over and I look, and you're standing there, and you're holding that little red Power Ranger,
Yeah.
and you're just staring at me, and I'm like looking up at you, and I'm like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And I never liked you. I always thought you were weird, and so I was like, what the hell? And I look over, and Dee's asleep, and I was like hoping that somebody would wake up and
Notice.
notice this creepy little, you know, whatever he was,
He didn't run away from you?
vampire stalker kid or whatever, and. So,
Maybe I just thought you needed to be brought down a notch. And
well, yeah, because
Scared a
your
little
eyes
bit.
were huge. He had a little bitty head, and he had these big eyes. But when he was born, his limbs were the size they are now, and he had this big lima bean body. I don't know, it was weird. And when he was born, I was there, and I was like, I was hideous. And my sister was like, "Shut up, he's my baby," you know. And I'm like, whatever. You got a weird
it
kid.
must have been a regular thing that I did, but they my parents probably just never told me, or maybe they didn't know. But I'm pretty sure they did, but they just didn't tell me because they didn't want me to feel bad or something.
Well,
Because
Thea Rosa knew you did.
yeah, because I remember well, I don't remember sleepwalking, but I was at my grandma's house one day, and she had told me, "Mijo, did you call me last night?"
I remember that.
And I said, "No, Grandma, I was asleep last night. What are you talking about?" And she goes over to her answering machine, and she plays this message, and that I left on her answering machine at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, "Grandma, I left my glasses over there. I didn't even wear glasses," and then I hung up. I was like, "What?" And it was my voice, and it was from our phone number.
Weird. That doesn't surprise me at all. And your grandma, she would have loved this show. I mean, she would have loved this stuff.
Yeah.
She was a big, what's it called? X-Files.
Yeah.
Big X-Files fan. And so what's crazy though, Anthony, he's standing there, he's looming over me, and so I just kind of like, I stared at him. I didn't want to move. I don't know, because that house was creepy. So I think the house might have been affecting you or something. And I think Gabby was just a baby or something, you know, and you weren't a little kid. You were probably like,
This was over at Lexington Street, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
You were like 8 or something?
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah,
I think she was a baby. I think Gabby was a baby.
Yeah, because she wasn't born until we were at that house.
Yeah.
On
And so I'm
Lexington.
sitting there looking at you, and I'm like, what do you want? You know, and then you just ran back out of the room, you know, and down the hallway. And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with this kid?
Didn't you kick at him?
No, that was later on. No,
okay.
no, that's
Okay.
another story.
No, that wasn't later on. That was before. That was on Travis Street.
That was on Travis
when I was
Street.
like 5.
Yeah, Lexington is where that house was haunted or something. Because I heard something in there one time, and so did D. Well, what's crazy though, like I go to the restroom a couple hours. I go back to sleep finally. A couple hours later, and I was still a little tipsy, you know, because we had been hanging out. It was a birthday party or somebody's birthday party. Oh no, it was when Ralph, I think, came back from the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And so I get up to go to the restroom, and I go down the hallway, and I hear like laughing or something coming from your room, but I didn't, you know. And I went into the bathroom, and while I'm standing there, and I'm like putting water in my face, and I look, and I see the doorknob going like that, like it's turning back and forth. And so I go and I open the door, and there's Anthony standing there, holding that Power Ranger in his hand, like, and he doesn't blink. Like a little sociopath, he doesn't blink. He just stands there.
It's because his eyelids weren't
And
big
he's
enough
right
yet.
in front of me, and I can't walk past him to go out of the. It's like 3 a.m. I'm like, what's this kid doing? What's wrong with this kid? And so I just was like, okay. I kind of got loud, you know, I didn't want to wake up the baby, but which was Gabby at the time, and now it's a baby. Now she's like, 27, whatever, 20 whatever years old.
No, she has a baby.
She has a baby, and she just had Lucas. And I'm sitting there, and I didn't want to wake her up, but you're standing right in front of me, and I'm like, I was starting to get aggravated, I said, okay, could you move, please? And you just kept, like you weren't breathing or something. And so finally I was like, dude, I just shoved you out of the way, kind of like not mean, because I don't be mean to you, but I kind of took my hand and pushed him and walked past him. And the next morning, my sister gets up. She's making, like chorizo and eggs or whatever, and some tacos. So I'm sitting there, and we're eating, and it's not you got to read the room, right? You want to be like, hey, your kid is weird. Thanks for feeding me, but your kid is weird as hell, and your house is haunted. So I told her, I said, I mean, I don't know how to say it. I just was like, look. Last night, he was sitting there at the table with that same doll that he had, and he got up and he ran away from the table. And I said, "Look, sis, I didn't want to be rude or anything, but he's sleepwalks or something's wrong with him." And she didn't know what I was talking about. She's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "He's a creepy little shit." Excuse my language, folks, but that's my words. And I said he came into the freaking living room, and the second time it happened, D woke up because he heard me kind of arguing with him to move, and he goes, "What's wrong with that kid?" I was like, "I don't know." He goes, "That kid's creepy, you know how D talks."
Yeah.
And so she's like, "Well, you can't be talking about my son like that." She was always real defensive, And I said, "Well, do you trust him around, Gabby?" And she's like, "Yeah, of course I do." And I'm like, "Well, he's weird, And then as you got older, you kind of panned out and but then I started realizing that your brothers were kind of weird when they were little, especially Gordo. I love him to death now, but he was such a weird little.
They were like destructive, weird.
But in a way that was beyond, it went beyond, we just, they went into your room and just started tearing stuff up, they just pick stuff up and just break it.
Yeah.
And you're like, I've never seen anything like that.
They're like Andy from Toy Story.
It was crazy. And that thing we put on the door for Halloween, and Gordo comes home and just tears the jaw right off of the little skeleton. And I'm like, what is that? What's wrong with these kids, man?
Yeah. Your family's weird.
Kids or something. It was crazy.
At least when I was standing watching my mom sleep, I was awake and I knew what I was doing. You just did it unconsciously.
Well, you're weird too, though, man.
At least? That's even weirder.
That was what's weird. What's weird about Tony was I guess you were probably he was probably 11 or 12 or something. I went over there and I was in that area and I had stopped and took a nap at y'all's house. Mm-hmm. And Leah just kept, play video game with me, play video game, play video game. And I'm like, I don't want to play a video game. Uncle Wolf is tired. I've been working. I'm out in the heat, and I had 2 swimming pools going at that time. And then y'all have worked those pools. You know how hot and nasty it is. Yeah. It's dirty, and it's not fun because you don't get to swim. You just got to be around the nasty chlorine and all the gross people and all the bugs and everything, and it gets on you, and bug spray, whatever. So I had to do one of the pools, and I was tired. It was 7 o'clock. I said, I'm going to take a nap until Zane gets off at 9, then I'll go back and get him at Cedarwood.
Yeah.
And so I was laying there, and I hear Tony, like what I thought was Tony talking, and I wake up, and you're asleep. It was his voice, too. It was you. But you're laying there, and you're just like, you had the controller in your hand. You were like, and you were just like sitting there sleeping. You were like out, but I heard your voice. I heard you call my name, and I got up, and I looked around, and Cindy was in the kitchen or whatever, your older sister, and she was, of course, she was like in high school or whatever. And I was like, I walked into the kitchen. I was like, did you hear? Because I thought I just heard Tony yell or something. And she goes, yeah, I thought I heard something. And I said, oh, I thought it was him, but he's asleep. And she goes, oh, well, he talks in his sleep sometimes. And she said that. And I thought, okay, this kid's just as weird as Anthony. What's wrong with these kids? So I don't know, man. I guess you panned out, you don't do it anymore, at least, that I've noticed. But, maybe you do. I don't know. I don't sleep in your room, but y'all were a couple of weirdos. That's all I know.
Could have been sleepwalking, or I could have just been like mad that you were there, because I would always get mad whenever my dad's friends came over, because it's like because Dad would spend time with y'all and not with me. You know, like I would just get so mad.
Out in that garage.
Yeah, out in that garage, and like
And
I
you
remember
would come out there with your little action figures trying to show everybody.
Well, one time I tried to go out there, and everyone was out there, and I got kicked out of the garage. Like I got so mad, I went inside and I took like one of my shoes and I went to the side of it and I like threw it and hit the garage as hard as I could, and I ran away. It was probably because it was like I wanted to spend time with Dad, but it was also because like I live here, you don't live here, because it was one of my dad's friends who said, "Hey, mijo, you can't be in here right now. Why don't you go? You go play inside, go play with your toys." I was like, "It's my house, it's my garage."
Yeah, and who are they to tell you that? You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, like I was family. I could tell you to go jump off a bridge, but they don't have that right. Who are you?
Actually, that's the first time I never knew that I talked in my sleep when I was
Well, you
younger.
only did it that one time, but you did.
That's
You
funny.
definitely did. And I guess you were probably maybe 11 or 12.
Well, I mean, I was a weird kid because, like, but
Well, believe me, I know.
I tried to be creepy though. Like, I would do stuff to freak out my family, but like, I did
You
it
don't
as
have to
fun.
try.
You don't have to try. It works pretty well. It's I tell you who was really creepy though, Zane.
Yeah.
Zane, like he spoke in another language one time, which I thought was really, and he had some issues, but well, who knows? We all do weird things when, y'all say that I speak in other languages, but I know those languages. So here you go, folks. Thank you for tuning in. We have to get a recording made so that we can have you entertained on Tuesday. And when we do the Kirk Reed interviews, we'll have them on Thursday. And hopefully we're going to be doing some work with Melba Ketchum. I wanted to announce that. I didn't want to say for sure. We were going to get things going with her. She's got the Genome Project going, and it's a controversial thing. It is very controversial, and it's going to be controversial. Everybody's always talking about controversy and PRT, always saying stuff about us, whatever. Well, people can't stop looking. It's like a train wreck. You can't look away. It's going to be what it is, and we're going to be who we are, and we're going to do what we do. And I've said this before. You can lead, follow, or get out of the freaking way. Right? PRT trains rolling. Knowledge, information, stories, entertainment, that's what we're here for. We're here for you. Somebody asked me the other day, it was a friend, it's somebody who doesn't watch a show. They're a friend from another life whenever I was in Atlantis. I'm joking. It was when I was working downtown, one of my brothers. And he says, what do you get out of doing that, He's like, I tried to watch it, but I didn't really know what was going on because he's not into this kind of thing, and I understand that. And I said, look, the people make the show, not me. You okay? Yeah. But I told him, I said, the people, our listeners, make the show, not me, not Anthony, not Tony, not anybody who's involved. It's the people, and you are the people. If you don't show up, there's no show. And one thing I have tried to do with this show, we've all tried to do this, and I think we've affected it, we wanted to build a community. And my wife built the Paranormal Prayer Group. I give her credit for that. And she wants to build one for health. People are always having health problems and things like that. When my gout flared up in my knee, one of the things happened, very interesting. A lot of you came together, probably about 30, 40 of you, and sent me remedies and different things. And we tried a bunch of different stuff, and it healed within 4 days, which was unusual. It said that the one as bad as mine was going to take over a week to 2 weeks at the very least. And it healed in like 4 or 5 days. It was done. And I thank you, the listeners, for that, because we all came together as a community. Now, it's a cyber community, but it's not unlike what we had when we were, way back in the day when the family and the community meant something, and we all worked together. And we love each and every one of you. I absolutely adore my fans. I love it when you, the listeners, message me. I always message back. I mean, 30, 40 messages a day, I don't care. I always get on there and I message you back. 20 emails a day, I don't care. People say, well, I don't want to bother you. You seem so busy. Please, bother me. That's my job. This is my second job. So bother me. It's not a bother. If you're somebody, like send me the message, there's, we got a bunch of mutuals, let's be friends. No. She seemed like a nice lady, and I explained to her, I said, you don't listen to PRT? No. Okay. Do you want to listen to it? I don't have time. Well, I don't have time. Sorry. You're not in my community. I wish you the best, and I'll be nice to you, and I'm not going to be mean or rude or snarky or anything like that. But if you don't have time to be a part of the community, then what can I do? You, the listeners, are my community.
Yeah, we definitely started this show as a hobby, but I mean, one of the reasons we're here is because, you know, it's all of you. We've built something so special that it'd be such a shame to, you know, to stop doing it, to lose it, you know, because we have such intelligent listeners, but also just like very caring. Like, you know, anytime something happens, we see it all the times. Not even just for us, but we see it all the time, like in the comments about someone saying something that's going on in their life, and immediately people just start talking and trying to help that person out and giving remedies, or just giving their saying, I'll pray for you. You know, something as simple as that, and it means a lot, not only to us to see that, because it shows that you guys care about each other, but I'm sure it means a lot to you guys as well, knowing that you're a part of something that you know cares about your well-being.
Yeah. And you know, that guy from Canada that went off on me in the Dogman group, and he was telling me, he goes, you're a goof, and all this other crap. After I had sent him a care package for him and his son, and then he completely just, you know, went off on me and was trying to take me apart, you know. And he said, you share way too much of your life with the listeners. And I said, that's what you call being a good host. That's called being authentic. That's called being genuine. Being who you are, telling the stories and when y'all were kids. This is our lives. This is who we are. This is me 24/7. People think that I'm putting on a show up here and I'm over here, you know. No. Anybody that in the community here in Austin or Texas or wherever, you know, my hometown, this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is me.
We don't have to fake it up
I'm
here.
not over here faking it and going like, yeah, I was over there pretending to be somebody else, and now I'm here, I'm going to pretend to be this person. No. You get who I truly am.
I mean, if I'm being entirely honest, you might even get a little bit of a tamed down version, because like we have to meet the guidelines still. But this is who we are. We don't put up a facade when we come up here. It's not a mask. We make these jokes. Me and Anthony attack each other all the time. A little bit more brutal, I guess, comparatively than how we do it here. But it's no different. You know?
Yeah.
A little bit more sailor talk, but you know,
it shows too, because you know, when you're honest with yourself, your community sees that, and they see and like
and
that.
they respond. I mean, you know, you see it on every level. There's real and there's fake. You get somebody up there and it's just like, wow, oh, and the fake is going to go with the fake, and the wheat from the chaff, and the real is going to go with the real. I mean, it's just the way it is, you know. So, folks, thank you for everything, and I do apologize about the knee. I just was able to walk pretty good yesterday. I had a few days there. It was rough, and at one point I was starting to walk a little bit, and it was still bad. We will get the Patreon sorted out, and we will get your stuff, okay? We have one more package to come in for the shirts. I believe that's supposed to be Tuesday. Is it Tuesday?
Yeah, I believe so.
Once that happens, then we will get you your stuff, because right now we're still short on larges. So we did inventory and we are missing large. So if you are a large or a 4X, which some people are, if you're like me, then we need to get your stuff to you, and we know that. And thank you for being patient, Patreon members, but go sign up for the Patreon, because you will get your care package. And if you want to, you can always wait if you're going to the conference and you're a Patreon member and we owe you something, I'll hook you up fat, PHAT, right? Well, that doesn't even make any sense. Pretty happy all the time. Look, no, seriously, I will hook you up. Come to the conference. If you're going to the conference and you're owed something for the Patreon, I'll hook you up. And so that being said, also, if you're coming to the conference and you're a Patreon member, I got you. All right. Just come. Just show up. And like I said, on Sunday, we're going to be giving away, probably it'll be Sunday. We're going to sort out the details because we have an extra hotel room. And so I wanted to do that. If somebody, all you got to do is pay for your travel expense. You will be given VIP, and that which means you get a free meal on Friday. And then all you got to do is bring your spending money so you can buy the books and the merchandise from whoever is going to be there. There's going to be a ton of people there and a bunch of vendors. And we'll hook you up, and you will get in for free, and you'll get a hotel room. So thank you. But if you do want to be a VIP member or a VIP for the conference, you need to get your tickets now. I'm not trying to pressure you, but they are actually, they're probably going to be sold out. I'm pretty sure VIP will be done. And so we don't have as much space as we thought we did. So we are probably going to stop ticket sales at a certain point. I'm not for sure yet. But for right now, they're still available and probably be available right up until the conference, but I wouldn't push it. So, because we have to plan for at least 100 people to probably show up in person like they did last year. Because about 130 people just showed up in person and paid up front. But if I were you, I would try to get tickets now, especially if you want to be a VIP. So thank you for that. We got to get it recording, folks. The next episode, which is about vampires, man. I'll see you later. Good night.